This is Rugby Radio. Rugby Radio with Stuart Cameron.
Hello and welcome to Rugby Radio. It's the start of a brand new league season, at least for the Premiership and the National 1 teams across Scotland. It's also the start of the National League Cup, and our feature match is coming to you from the Greenyards, Melrose versus HERIOT'S in the Premiership. But we've also got reporters on the ground for all sorts of games, including Edinburgh Accies against Hawick and Kelso and Watsonians, plus Gallen Highland also being covered today, and also in the National Cup Berwick's trip to Preston Lodge. So let's go down to the Greenyards right away. We've got Dale Clancy and Robin Purdie down there for commentary for us today. And Robin, if we can bring you in first, the build-up to the start of the Premiership in particular day has been absolutely incredibly exciting.
Good afternoon, Stuart. It has indeed, and that's simply because there's change. There's something different happening this season, and change is a good thing, so things don't go stale. And yeah, here we are. It's a glorious day actually at the Greenyards. Beautiful sunshine, barely a breath of wind. So yeah, and on this particular type of pitch as well, it should lead to a good afternoon's rugby. Now,
we did this on the Friday rugby preview, but for those who've been off the planet for the last few months, can you explain briefly what's happened with the demise of the Super Six and the amalgamation, effectively, of those teams into the Premiership and the National 1 divisions?
Yes, as you say, Super Six did demise, and what that has led to is 4 of the clubs coming into a newly formed 12-team Premiership, those being Ayr, Heriot's, Watsonians and of course Melrose, while Boroughmuir Bears and Stirling have gone into National 1. That means, like I say, we've got 12 teams in the Premiership this season, with 3 going down and 1 coming up to revert back to 10 teams next season. So get the calculators out, make of that what you will.
Well, Ayrshire Bulls players have certainly gone to the Ayr Club team in their droves, and that's why they're being talked about as favourites, and they take on the Scottish champions Currie at Millbrae today. That's going to be mouth-watering. That game kicking off at 4:10 today, so we'll only get that as far as half-time, but everyone's having a look at that one to see exactly what's going to be happening.
Yeah, and rightly so, because it's what has been the best club throughout Super Rugby, the Ayrshire Bulls, against the Scottish club champions, that being Currie. And Currie have recruited really well this summer as well. They've brought in a few ex-Super Rugby operators of their own. So yeah, it's going to be intriguing to see how that pans out over there at Millbrae. I think the powers that be will be hoping for a close contest. Whether or not that transpires, we'll know a lot more at 6 o'clock.
Now, you were mentioning Ayr as being the favourites. You're not the only one. There's a lot of people saying that, Ayr only have to turn up and basically give them the trophy. Of course, there's 22 games. There's also playoffs again at the end of the season. So, there's still an awful lot to play for. What can go wrong for Ayr, apart from like 20 or 30 injuries?
Oh, it's hard to say, Stuart, to be honest, because their club team last year, albeit they were in National 1, but they won their first however many games, and they absolutely cakewalked to the title, and they would have been a force to be reckoned with at this level themselves, without 18 or 19 Super Series boys coming back into the mix. So not much can go wrong. I don't think. Possibly could disharmony potentially creep in. I think they've got 87 boys training, is kind of what I heard via the jungle drum, so maybe how do you keep all those happy? But yeah, there'll be enough happy campers within that lot to see them to the title, I would imagine.
Well, a lot of intrigue coming up. Of course, earlier on you had a word with both coaches. We're going to hear from HERIOT'S coach, that's Bob McKillop, shortly. But first of all, your chat with Scott Wight.
So, Scott, it's the post-Super Series landscape. Melrose are back in the Premiership as actual Melrose. I mean, how much of a buzz is around the place for the upcoming season?
Oh, look, I think it's great. Personally for myself as well, in terms of obviously the connections that I've got here in terms of growing up and playing rugby here. So for me to be back at Melrose as a joint head coach 33 years later, I mean, there's a huge buzz, and I think that's evident in the boys today in terms of turning up. Obviously, I dare say the weather probably helps everybody, but no, there's a huge amount of excitement within the squad today.
And how has pre-season gone?
Look, it's been fairly disjointed, the time of year, I think, in terms of people on holidays, and then I dare say locally for us as well, we felt it's really important to support the other border events in terms of sevens. So we've had a kind of split, if you like, in terms of we've had 2 15s games, 2 sevens games, but we felt that was evident from last year from Kelso picking up both tournament wins, and then at the end of the season, not being able to catch them up. So support other border clubs is hugely important for us here at Melrose, and to come away with 1 victory at Peebles. So I dare say proof will be in the pudding today.
And in terms of injuries and unavailabilities, you unfortunately seem to have a huge list of unavailable players today. What's that down to so early in the campaign?
I was actually funny. I was saying to somebody this morning, I think I'm the curse. I had the same at Selkirk, had the same at the Knights, and now we've got it at Melrose. So, no, look, I don't know. I mean, obviously unfortunate. I mean, we lost 4 boys last week against Annick. So, some bad ones as well. Donald Crawford ruptured his Achilles. Scotty Clark broke his wrist. Dylan Coburn, young Dylan's obviously strained his meniscus in his knee, and Jack Doby's picked up a stinger in his shoulder. So to have they 4 on top of what we already had last week, it's been a difficult week putting the squad together. But at the end of the day, look, we're not going to use it as excuses. We're seeing it as, I dare say, opportunities for the guys that are stepping in, which is fantastic.
And I think it would probably be fair to say that from the 4 clubs that came back into the Premiership from Super Series, Melrose probably have the lowest number of boys that could be considered to be, proper experienced Super Series players compared to Ayr, etc. So with that in mind, what are the realistic goals for the club this season?
I mean, we've got to be realistic, but we've also got to be ambitious. There's no point setting goals for setting goals. We've got to set ambitious goals that then boys can adhere to. So, I mean, look, we've met as players groups at the start of pre-season and we've said, look, ideally we want to be in the playoffs. Is that realistic? Well, look, we'll find out more after today, to be honest. And I think, secondary to that, I think you obviously, if that train comes off the track, where are you then and what are the boys' motivations? And then you look at it and you say you've got to stay in the top 9.
And is there a sense that some clubs this season could almost write off a trip to the likes of Millbrae or Goldenacre in favour of targeting games against teams that are potentially going to be mid-table or towards the bottom end?
Look, I think that'll be each club will decide that themselves. But if they're playing a game that they deem as winnable the following week, I mean, I think you look at that Ayr squad today. I mean, it'll be really interesting to see, because I think Currie have done an excellent job recruiting through the summer.
Agreed, yeah.
I think they've brought in Ed Haskell, Ryan Sutherland, and they've brought boys in from Currie. You've got your Wallace Nelsons going back from HERIOT'S, and then they won the league last year. So it'll be really interesting to see the result at Millbrae today, and then I think that'll give everybody a kind of, I know it's a one-off game, but it'll give everybody a clear picture of how strong that Ayr squad is. And as you say, look, I think given where you are, if you can, and you've got depth within the squad, I don't think it's a bad idea rotating the squad to go to the likes of that to focus on other games.
Sure, and looking at the team today, lots of unavailable names as discussed, and maybe some names that the fans will be a bit less familiar with. So can you tell us a little bit about the likes of Morgan Gabe, for example?
So Morgan, he was out in the summer. He was out in Stellenbosch at that academy that they put on. So we as Scotland, they put on that John McPhail scholarship. So that's where Ben White's been, and Joss Arnold from Musselburgh, and another guy from the West Coast. Sorry, his name's lost. But I think through personal connections, you reach out to kind of everybody to try and make your squad as strong as possible. So I reached out to the guys that run that out there a while back and touched base with them to see if there's any European or UK lads back, and his name popped up a few weeks ago. So he actually replied to a message on Wednesday, believe it or not, from about 6 weeks ago, saying, is there still an opportunity?
Right.
So hey, fair play to the kid, to be honest. He's jumped on a train on Thursday morning, got himself up here to Carlisle on Thursday. We went and picked him up. He trained on Thursday night and he's straight in. So that kind of gives you an idea of where we were squad wise this week. But look, he's turned up, he's a good kid, and it'll be interesting to see how he tracks.
And so, to sum up, looking at today's game, is there a bit of a sense that this could be a bit of a free hit, and that you hope that nobody else gets injured, and use this as a good chance to see where you're at?
Look, a bit of both. I think there's a lot of nervous energy, because you've got a lot of boys in this Melrose team that have played National 1 for the last 5 years. So they know if we don't get it right today, as you say, it could run away from us. But I think there's a real focus there that, as you say, it is essentially a free hit. Come out, but we've said, look, make sure and throw the first punch. Didn't die wondering. So let's not be in there at half time roaring and shouting at each other. So let's make sure we front up from the hard. And if we're hard to beat and we do the basics well in attack, that's the main thing that we're looking for as coaches today.
Well, Scott, thanks very much for your time. As always, good luck for the game today, and of course for the rest of the season as well. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Robert.
So Bob, here we are, first day of the new look Arnold Clark Premiership. Give us the Heriot's take on the kind of brave new world of club rugby in Scotland now that Super Series is no more?
I mean, we don't want to pretend. I think as a club we're probably disappointed that Super Series didn't carry on. We felt it was doing its job, but it's hugely exciting now to get back into a proper Premiership. At the end of this we'll know who the Scottish champions are, so that's quite exciting. For me, first time back in charge of Heriot's for 13 years. And there's no better place to start. We're standing here looking out over the Greenyards, and it looks fantastic. So, can't wait to get going.
And pre-season, the rumour mill suggests you've had great numbers. So, how has pre-season gone for the club?
Yeah, I mean, we were really proud of the amateur side of the club last year. We were competing in Premier 1. Our 2s and 2As were both unbeaten through the year. So we had good numbers in the amateur side. We've had a load of those boys still back at training, seem to be enjoying themselves. It's a little bit of a step into the unknown today. I think nobody really knows how strong they're going to be themselves, or how strong the opposition are going to be. So we've talked a lot about potential strengths and weaknesses in our team, but we made the point very clearly to the boys on Thursday, their potential, because we don't actually know yet.
And have you managed to maintain most of the previous Super Rugby squad? And is there then a danger that you can end up with too many players in terms of potentially keeping everyone happy?
Yeah, I mean, I look at ourselves here, Watsonians. I think that's a challenge for all of the head coaches. Is going to be how do you keep those squads happy? We've kept the bulk of the Blues, what was formerly known as the Blues. We've kept them, and we've retained around about 15 or 16 of the Super Series group, and there's 2 or 3 new joiners as well. So it's going to be really difficult, but you got to learn lessons, I think, from that little journey into semi-professionalism where coaches were forced and then became brave enough to rotate squads, and I think that's going to be really, really key. It's also a long season, right? So I think we'll need a big squad.
And as what was a successful Super Series club who went well at that level, is there any sense of added pressure this season, due to many pundits, journalists and also fans expecting you to go well?
Only on the head coach, I think, is what I'm picking up. I suppose people expect us to do well. We have retained quite a few of our Super Series boys, same as some of the other teams have. We're not really talking about that at the moment. We just want to come out and play. We want to get back to playing a proper HERIOT'S style of rugby. Throw the ball around, enjoy ourselves. So I'm really, really keen that, I think so many coaches focus on performance and fun being mutually exclusive. I think they're one and the same thing. So we're hoping to have some fun. And if we take all the outside noise out of it, what are the goals and objectives for the club this season? I couldn't possibly tell you. That one of those goals is we want to push our style of rugby as far as we can, and really, really enjoy ourselves. And I think Heriot's, pretty similar to Melrose, have got a long, long history of playing really attractive rugby. And maybe one criticism of Super Series is sometimes it became a little bit overly structured. And I'd like to get the boys back to playing what they see and playing with a bit of intuition and having a little bit of fun. And if I know Scott and Rob Moffat, I'm sure that's how Melrose want to play as well.
And looking specifically at today's game, Bob, it's a strong-looking squad for you guys with a few experienced campaigners in there. Is this Heriot's more or less at full strength, or are you missing any?
We're proud of the squad that we've got out today. We think it's a strong squad. There's probably about 15 boys that are not available in that broader squad. So, as I said earlier, we are lucky. We've got a big squad. We'll need to rotate, but the team that runs out today is the best team that Heriot's can assemble, and we're pretty proud of that team.
And for those club game supporters who maybe haven't seen as much Super Rugby, who are the Heriot's players to look out for this season?
Wow, that's a tough one. Who are my favourites? I think Rory Leishman, our captain, is a real class operator in the line-out and in the loose. He ranges out nice and wide, very good rugby player. Sam Wallace, I've been lucky enough to coach since he was 8 years old, and is just a real genuine open sider, hugely exciting. And then stepping up from the Blues, somebody like Rory Kirkpatrick, who I guess got his opportunity in the Blues team because the Super Series boys went away, played in the Edinburgh district team last year and performed very strongly there. So it's a little bit of a step up for somebody like him, and every step up he takes, he copes with admirably. So there's a lot of guys to be excited about.
Well, Bob, thanks very much for taking the time, and we wish you well both for today's game and for the season as a whole. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Scott Wight and Bob McKillop talking to Robin Purdie earlier on. Well, let's take a look at the other games in the Premiership today, starting with Ayr v Currie. Ayr have been boosted with a lot of the players who were playing for Super 6 team Ayrshire Bulls last season, while Currie are the current Premiership champions. Let's hear from both parties. Charlie Brett, the Currie captain, and first captain of Ayr, Blair McPherson.
For me personally, it's a bit of the unknown. I've not played against Currie in 5 years, but obviously their success last year, it's going to be a challenge. They've recruited really well, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and I think it's a game that probably everyone's looking towards. If you've looked at any forum or anything online, everyone's been comparing the Super 6 and the Premiership for the past 5 years, so it's really going to set the marker out and kind of lay down where everybody lies in the league.
I think it'll be buzzing for both teams. Like, it's the opening game of the Premiership. Ayr are back in the Premiership. We're retaining the title and defending it, so I think it's going to be a belter. In my eyes, we'll try and bring the biggest support possible with no other teams playing that day. So we're very excited about it. We obviously know the task in hand that we've got, and Ayr are a really good team. They've got some proper ball players throughout their squad, and I think we'll stick to our process, see how we go. But boys are buzzing and just chomping at a bit to get going.
That game, remember, kicking off at 4:10 today. It's live on BBC Alapa. On to Edinburgh Accies and Hawick. Our reporter down at Raeburn Place is Hugh Brown.
This is, of course, a repeat of the Scottish Cup final in April when Accies edged out Hawick 32-29 to lift the trophy. Much has changed since then, including the structure of the Premiership, which now has 12 teams. Player squads have also seen a big turnover, and Hawick welcome 8 new faces, including Logan Henry, who's joined the Greens from Purdie Rugby in New Zealand. Another newcomer is youngster Matt Reid, who was with Muir Bears in the Super Sixes, but sadly he misses out today because of a shoulder injury picked up at Gala Sevens. They also add Marcus Brogan and Mark Glenn from the Southern Knights, though Glenn doesn't feature today. For the home side, there are just 3 newcomers, including the exciting teenager Rory Brogan from Fettes College, who starts on the bench this afternoon. He was the player of the tournament at Netherdale 2 weeks ago, and today could see him gain his first Premiership experience. Having finished 7th last season and with 3 teams going down, every point is going to be vital, so Accies will once again look to skipper Neil Armstrong to blast them into a safe league position. So, can the Green Machine extract revenge for their cup final defeat? It's going to be a fascinating 80 minutes, that's for sure. Here at Raeburn Place, it's a sunny afternoon for Edinburgh Accies against Hawick.
Hugh Brown reporting there. We're going to hear from both parties on this one. Hawick captain Shawn Muir will give us his thoughts, and first Accies co-captain Jamie Loomes.
Well, I guess both teams know each other quite well, played each other a lot in the last few years. Hawick are very, very good. They know each other very well, probably similar to us. They've been a group that are together for a long time. Strong set piece and a big pack who generally dominate most teams that they play against. So focus for us will be making sure our set piece is at least getting parity there, and hopefully playing Hawick in August is always nice for an Accies team, and hopefully we can spin the ball about and hopefully play some decent attacking rugby.
It'll be tough. You've seen in the Scottish Cup final last year, they're probably one of the teams in the league that causes us most problems with the way they play rugby and throw the ball about, so we know we'll have to be tighter in defence than we were the last 20-30 minutes at Murrayfield. But look, it's a new season. I don't know what they'll bring, but it's always tough at Raeburn Place. I think I've had some success there the last few seasons, but before that I think I was lucky to pick up a win. So now look, it'll be hard. We know we have to be at our best to get some sort of result up there.
Shawn Muir and also Jamie Loomes. Well, let's go across to Poynder Park now live, because Kelso are taking on Watsonians. Watching this one for us is David Ferguson. And David, excitement building nicely down there.
Yes, it is indeed. A lovely sunny day here in Kelso, Stuart. A breeze blowing from the changing rooms this week down the pitch to begin with, but we know that can change as the game goes on. Bit of a reality check, I think, today. That's what. Bit of nervous apprehension, I would say, from the Kelso support. They've enjoyed the last season here with Kelso running over a number of teams, but they don't quite know what to expect from Watsonians, who come today as the first Super 6 team to pitch up at Poynder Park. Of course, not Super 6 anymore. Watsonians, however, will start with 7 of the players that were in their recent Super 6 campaign. We've got Don Coates at 15, wing Lomond McPherson, and standoff Jason Baggett, who many of us will remember from his days at Melrose and across the game in Scotland. He's one of their co-captains today, and in the pack, 4 of the front 5 are Super 6 Super Series veterans, including the South African pair Craig Davidson and Quagga van Niekerk. two players who, Craig Loosehead and Van de Kirk today, play in second row, who also won Scotland under-20 caps. So they came across to Scotland from South Africa, and they had hopes to go on and play for Scotland. It's not quite worked out for that way for them, but they've had their chances, odd chances here and there at pro level, but they've enjoyed it at Watsonians, and they're very important players for Watsonians today. Kelso, as we know, have built a strong squad here at Poynder Park, and they've got Grant Shields, Dan Gamble starting in the front row today, who've come back from the Knights, both former pros, and they've got Harry Borthwick at number 8, who I think a lot of people here are really looking forward to seeing him in action in the Premiership. Three big players for the Kelso pack. They've not got Robbie Tweedy today on the wing. He's not available this week, which means a bit of a reshuffle in the back line, and that means that another former Knights player, Adam Hall, can link up with Frankie Robson in the centre, and Dwayne Patterson, that man of many positions, is going to start on the wing today. But as an indication perhaps, Stuart, of where the coaches expect this game to be won is on the bench, where both have selected 5 forwards and 2 backs. So I think both of them expect a real forward battle this afternoon, and I think we can expect quite an immense clash between the backs. There's no doubt about that. A lot of big physical men out there on the pitch warming up as we prepared for this game. Watsonians into a huddle. Kelso are just disappearing into the changing rooms, but you can rest assured that Kelso are up for this battle today. We don't quite know what the standard, the difference in the two teams is going to be, but we'll find out over the next 8 to 8 minutes. Kelso, of course, also hand debuts to their Irish standoff, Oscar Davey. He's in at 10 there to control the game, and they've got their second row, Alex Orr, up from Berwick. But just quickly through that team, we've got Liam Herdman at full back for Kelso, Archie Barber and Dwayne Patterson on the wings, Adam Hall and Frankie Robson in centres, Oscar Davey, Andy Tate linking up the veteran scrum half in to start today, Grant Shields, Ewan Knox and Dan Gamble in the front row, Alex Orr and Keith Melbourne, the other co-captain, with Dwayne Patterson in the Kelso team, and Bruce McNeil starts at 6 with Cammy Thompson at 7 and Harry Borthwick at 8. We'll come back and I'll take you through the Watsonians team later on, I'm sure, when we come back and we give you an update, Stuart. But yeah, it's shaping up to be a cracking clash of two teams that know each other pretty well but haven't played since there was Super 6 series began.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed to David Ferguson down there at Poynder Park. Now, Glasgow Hawks are at home to Musselburgh, two teams that finished in the lower half of the Premiership last season. Robert Stott from Musselburgh will look forward to this one shortly after we've heard from Hawks co-captain, the brilliant Paul Cairncross.
I think the past couple of seasons we've been really wanting to make top 4. We go into every game believing we can and we should be there, but there is parts of the game we just need to tidy up on. So focus this year, full 80-minute performances, finish in the top 4 and prove to everyone that we belong in the top 4 and not mid-table. It's always a tough game against Musselburgh. Always is. We always go into it thinking we're going to win, believing we can win, and they just put up such a good fight. It's unbelievable. I think it will be another tough game. First game of the season as well. That's a really good one to, if we win that game, then it's momentum building from there. So the target is win that first game, and then we can progress on and meet our goals that are going to be finished at the top 4. Keep that momentum going.
It's always a tough game against Hawks, especially through in Glasgow. So it'll be good to get through. I think we don't have a twos game, so I think hopefully we're going to get a big crowd through, and hopefully we can do the job over there, because we know we played them a lot over the last season, so we know what we're up against. So hopefully we can get the job done, and that's the goal. Build the momentum into the next game, and then the next game after that, keep the ball rolling.
Another match in the Premiership today, Marr versus Selkirk from Fullerton Park. Andrew McColm, co-captain of Selkirk, will talk about this one after we hear from Marr's ace kicker, Colin Sturgeon.
Massive game for us. Selkirk and ourselves are sort of like teams I would say have been in the old Prem, and we're probably a little bit worried about some of the big sort of Super 6 teams coming back down. So having the first game of the season there, that could be a big game for both of us. So we're really targeting that game as we're wanting a home win. It's going to be massively important to be strong at home in this league, I think. So yeah, we've got all eyes set on that first game at Fullerton, and we know we've had some really tough fixtures with Selkirk in the past, and we don't want to slip up at home straight away and put ourselves on the back foot. We know there's going to be a lot of really difficult places to have to go, Selkirk being one of them. So we want to sort of really create that Fortress Fullerton mentality that we get wins at home and we can put points on the board early, so that we're not finding ourselves looking upwards straight away.
We've had some
good success at Fullerton, well, Fortress Fullerton as I like to call it. I think we're 2 early tries in the first half last season didn't give us the best of starts, but we kind of came back into the game. And if it wasn't for those 2 early tries, it would have been pretty tight at the end. Then the season before that, I think we went up and got a win. So I don't like to look at the past too much, kind of look in the future. But it's I think it's a good opening game just to kind of tell us where we are.
OK, that was Andrew McColm from, of course, Selkirk, and also Colin Sturgeon from Marr. That's going to be an interesting game to look out for, all kicking off at 3 o'clock. National 1 kicks off today as well. Biggar versus Jed Forest, Muir against GHA, Gala versus Highland, Glasgow Accies against Dundee, and Stirling County versus Peebles are the games being played this afternoon. We'll keep you updated on them throughout the course of the programme. And don't forget our Twitter X service. It's at Borders Scores, which will keep you up to date with latest scores as they come in throughout the afternoon. Well, we're not far away from kick-off now. We'll also be covering the National League Cup event, which is happening down at Pennypit, Preston Lodge, against Berwick. We'll be hooking up, hopefully, with Sam Matthews a little bit later on in the programme. But first of all, after the break, we're going to be finding out what's going on at the Greenyards.
This is Rugby Radio.
Rugby Radio.
Your pet deserves the best, and that's why your pet deserves the care and treatment offered by Border Vets. We focus on delivering the very best care to each and every one of our patients and clients. We get to know you and your pet and offer treatments tailored to every animal's individual needs, from our conveniently located surgeries in Galashiels, Selkirk and Earlston. Ask about our Pet Health Club for your cat or dog, giving you peace of mind by spreading the cost of vaccinations, regular checks and more. From dental care to travelling abroad and the whole range of veterinary services, bordervets.co.uk is where you'll find everything you need to know. Border Vets, where your pets are part of our family.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
Borders water, Borders barley and Borders people. That's what makes the Borders Distillery. Working exclusively with local farmers, the Borders Distillery is bringing whiskey making back to the region. Our award-winning distillery is open to everyone, where you can meet the people behind the scenes, explore our wash house and shop quality local products. Tour your local distillery and discover the spirit of the Borders. Full details at thebordersdistillery.com. Always enjoy our spirit responsibly. Under 18s must be accompanied by an adult when visiting the Borders Distillery.
This is Rugby Radio. Rugby Radio.
Yeah, Saturday afternoon, 2:30 till 5 every Saturday until the clocks go back, and then you get an extra hour. We start at 1:30, but it's time to go down to the Greenyards for commentary on Melrose versus Heriot's and join our commentary team of Robin Purdie. And first of all, Dale Clancy.
Yes, hello and welcome to the Greenyards for our first game in the Arnold Clark Men's Premiership, and it's Melrose versus Heriot's, and the sun is shining again on Premiership action for the men from the Greenyards as the nights are now a distant memory and we enter a new era of club rugby in Scotland, but with some familiar rivalries. Heriot's themselves excelled in the semi-professional ranks, and they start their campaign against a side who failed to kick on in those surroundings after the first couple of campaigns, but Melrose as ever will be determined to close the gap, certainly to those two teams at the top who we think will be perhaps the two teams to really make strides and kick on in the new Premiership, and that will be Heriot's and Ayr, who will be taking on Currie later on in the first game in the Men's Premiership. Melrose, they're going to line up with Kieran Clark at fullback. They've got Morgan Gabe and Robin Sharp on the wings. Rolly Brett and Chris Thompson are in the centres with a half-back pairing of Douglas Crawford and Luke Townsend. In the front row, Will Owen, Ben McLean and Zen Shifarjak will be in the front row. Thomas Brown and Angus Runciman, who is the captain, will be in the middle row with William Ferry. Rudy Lindsay and Craig Fairbairn making up the back row. Heriot's just led on to the field by their captain Rory Leishman, who excelled certainly in the semi-professional Super 6 era. He's going to line up at number 8 alongside Rory Kirkpatrick and Sam Wallace, who'll be a player to keep an eye out for in the back row. Moving further up the pack, Jason Hill and Eamon Moore will line up together in a very, very experienced front row of Chris Keane in familiar surroundings, along with Michael Linus and Ewan McLaren. Half-back pairing for Heriot's of St John Broad and the experienced Ross Jones. The wingers Ben Evans and Noah Sakapage are going to be lining up for the side from Golden Acre, with Thomas Clendenin coming from Ayrshire Bulls to Heriot's, along with Kenta Kitsuna in the centre. Fullback, Scotland age grade Dan King is going to wear the 15 jersey. And I think the pre-match build-up, Robin Purdie, who's alongside me, did allude to the fact that this will be certainly a step up in level for Melrose now.
Oh, it most certainly will, Dale. Good afternoon, and especially when you see their unavailable list, which includes the likes of Jack Dobie, Ben Wight, Dylan Coburn, Sam Derrick, Alan Ferry, Struan Hutchison, Nagel, Paddy Anderson and Don Crawford, who got a bad one last week. You know, those could all hold their hand up to be classed as super rugby players, missing in the Melrose ranks, unfortunately.
Luke Townsend waits aqua blue boots in his Melrose top to get things underway. Kieran Stark blasts his whistle and it's been lumped downfield. Melrose playing from right to left. It's been gathered by Jason Hill. St John Broad gets the ball to Dan King, who's acting as first receiver, who filters it in towards Chris Keane, who takes the first bit of contact in this game. St John Broad quick to the breakdown just outside the Heriot's 22 to find Dan King. Right footed, kicks it downfield and being watched all the way there by Kieran Clark, who's really looking to try and kickstart his rugby career again. A very promising youth who's found the kind of step up in class a little bit difficult to really find his feet. Carry forward from Will Owen now, ducks the shoulder into contact. Luke Townsend right against the grain, able to release the rampaging Angus Runciman, who takes it forward. Been fumbled midfield, the referee letting play continue as Will Ferry has to scoop up the ball, but the referee will bring it back for a penalty. It will be a penalty to Melrose, just inside the Heriot's half, quite close to the grandstand side, as we've got a sprinkling of spectators in the commentary box, which is a new venture here at the Greenyards.
Yeah, it seems to be, Dale. I believe there's a kind of sponsors. You can sponsor now, bring a few people, and you get the privilege of sitting up next to us, I guess.
Yeah, I think they'll probably be counting the cost of that listening to us all afternoon, but it's great to see a great vantage point, and there's a lot of people standing up towards the right hand side of us in the famous commentary box here at the Greenyards, and there's certainly a healthy crowd underneath, which shows this probably isn't a bad venture, bringing it back to the club land again and concentrating all of our rugby in the one area, as the line out is not accurate from Melrose inside the Heriot's 22. It's been fumbled forward as Hill picks up and he goes round one challenge. Then he has been tackled by Zen Shafarjak, the ex-Selkirk front row, played for the Southern Knights and now in Melrose colours, and has been knocked forward there by Melrose from the line out. So we'll come back for a scrum put in to Heriot, as Jason Hill gets a little bit of treatment on the ground, I think clutching his ribs on the 22.
Looks in a wee bit of a bad way, Jason Hill. That would be an early blow.
He's a player who has had a bit of trouble with his ribs in the past as well. I remember in his younger days first playing for Heriot at Peebles Sevens, actually had to go off early for a cracked or a broken rib. You could thank Dalton Hall for that on that occasion, and I think perhaps the heftier figure of Zen Shafarjak certainly helped out there and cowed Jason Hill to the ground, and he certainly looks in a bit of pain early on here. We're a couple of minutes in, we're 3 minutes into this game in the Arnold Clark Men's Premiership. It's still Melrose 0, Heriot's 0.
I was going to say, Dale, it took all of 50 seconds for us to see our first penalty for a high shot this season. Do these players ever learn?
No, I think it's going to. I think a lot of things are going to take a bit of time to iron out in the Premiership. It's certainly going to take time for the players who are finding themselves back in this level, and players that are perhaps stepping up as well to really find the tempo of the game. But it means there's going to be an early replacement for Heriot, gingerly walking off, and probably the most apt term for Jason Hill. He's going to be replaced by Callum Shand, so early replacement for Heriot, and that's a big blow for Heriot to lose such an experienced player.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. Callum Shand's a good prospect though, but you have to say he's about half the size of Jason Hill.
Perhaps in his current state might be a little bit more useful for the Nails, as they've got a scrum inside of their own 22. Douglas Crawford just loiters behind St John Broad, who spins the ball, waits for the two front rows to charge together and then rolls it in. He quickly scampers back towards the tail of that scrum and is able to dispatch it to Katsuna, who carries forward, bounces off his feet, but is well marshalled by the Melrose defence, and Broad lays the platform for Jones to kick it downfield, where Kieran Clark waits again. He fumbles the ball, but it does go backwards. Referee watching that, and Clark tries to find some space. He's been engulfed there. Ben Evans puts a shot on the Melrose fullback. Now Crawford, he finds Shafarjak, and it's quite good to commentate on a Melrose game when there is only one Crawford on the field. Townsend, maybe not the same to be said for the Townsends, because there's one on the bench for Heriot's, but Luke Townsend doing well to distribute the ball in the face of this Heriot's defence on the halfway line as Rolly Brett gets his first chance to make some inroads in this Heriot's defensive line, which is holding firm, certainly gelling well early on. They had a good hit out against Stirling Wolves at Bridgehaw in a pre-season fixture earlier on a few weeks ago, as Douglas Crawford opts to go to the sky. It's been chased well there by Chris Thompson, who puts a lot of pressure on Dan King. The loose ball almost falls away, and Melrose it eventually does, and it's been a knock on there from Heriot's. And I think perhaps before the game I maybe thought that Heriot's might have found things a little bit more comfortable, but I think the endeavour from Melrose and the effort so far is making it quite an intriguing contest.
Oh, definitely, Dale. I think the Melrose coaching team will be absolutely thrilled with how this game started. They've had umpteen carries, they've flew into challenges, they've put in you never see a player injured, but Zen Varjak, as you said before, flew into Jason Hill, and that's ended his afternoon. So yeah, scrum to Melrose on the Heriot's 22, almost centre field. I think this has been a great start by the men in black and yellow.
Scrum down again. This time it's an attacking platform for Melrose to try and get their first scores of this Premiership campaign, finding themselves back at the top table of club rugby after a few years out of it, finding it difficult to get back into the Premiership from National 1 when the Southern Knights were formed. As Fairbairn clutches the ball with one hand, Sam Wallace all over the Melrose number 8, but he's able to use a good bit of footwork to link back up with Crawford, who's found Brett, who's charging towards the 22 metre line now, and Crawford has a little go again. He's been wrapped up by Sam Wallace, who is going to be absolutely everywhere this afternoon. He does well to wrap up that first effort, and Chris Thompson now has a chance round the fringes to go round that ruck and make a couple of more yards. But I think Heriot's look like they've turned this ball over. They're starting to congregate at this breakdown with great urgency to try and clear their lines. Heriot's spent most of the opening stages of this first half inside their own 22, and Kieran Clark gathers the ball on the halfway line from the kick from Dan King. There's almost a pocket of space there. The offload is not able to find Rolly Brett, but it has ended up in the hands of William Ferry. He goes in towards the Heriot's 22 yet again. Crawford across to Runciman. Runciman is nudged on by Ben McLean, who just takes him a little bit closer towards that Heriot's 5 metre line. Crawford quickly gets the ball away, and Townsend has to juggle, but then finds Tam Brown charging forward, offering himself up for some hard work. Townsend again able to find a willing runner. Heriot's defence this time is able to organise itself and hold firm as McLean again is nudged on by his Melrose teammates, and it's been a bright start for this Melrose side. Craig Fairbairn now carrying forward. There's players filtering round for this Melrose side as Townsend looks to try and go acute back against that ruck, 5 metres away from that Heriot's line now, working hard round the corner as Crawford almost ran down a dark alley as the navy and white hooped shirts of Heriot started to just cut the corner out for the Melrose scrum half. Play somewhat slowed down now. The urgency of this passage of play has certainly started to diminish from this Melrose side. Pick and goes, looking to try and keep it quite acute, but the penalty is going to come for the home side, Melrose, and you would imagine here looking to try and keep things pretty tight. It's a very, very kickable penalty.
Oh yeah, it's bang in front, about 10 metres out, and this will undoubtedly sail between the uprights. But what a start by Melrose. Dale said it earlier, and you know, this forward pack, I'd suggest they've won probably 90% of the collisions so far, and some of them they've won easily.
Yeah, hard to argue with that. I think they certainly have. They've enjoyed possession mostly up towards the Heriot side. They've been kicking clear and counter-attacking rugby from Kieran Clark has been really effective. He's been making some good decisions at fullback early on, and one of them is going to lead to this penalty attempt for Luke Townsend right in front of the posts. 8.5 minutes in here, and it's Melrose who get the first points of the Premiership campaign for themselves, and it's 3-0. They lead Heriot's here at the Greenyards, and you've got to say, on the balance of play, it is justified from this home side. 100%, Dale. It's been a brilliant start by what is a vastly understrength Melrose team. Let's not forget, against a team that probably have I make it 14 what I'd class as proper super rugby operators in the Heriot squad today. Jones takes the restart. It's high. It's been gathered by Glendinning, who was just underneath that. No real contest, just able to nudge himself into a bit of space, and it's offered the chance for Linus to carry forward. And now this is a chance for Heriots to flex their muscles and also try and pick that gap in the defence. Great link-up play, and St John Broad is going to be in for a try, but the referee brings it back. A forward pass in the build-up to that score. And it just shows how quickly things can change if you've got quality. The likes of, you see, even when you're going back to Linus sitting up that platform, and the link-up of Broad as well. He's a really, really impressive scrum half. He certainly is, Broad. It's the first ball Heriot's have had. You're absolutely right. In 8 minutes? And they very nearly went over the whitewash if it wasn't for a pass that went ever so slightly forward. So yes, signal of intent from the Golden Acre men, absolutely. And Glendinning as well. He's a brilliant acquisition in the outside centre for Heriots. Like they needed more super rugby reinforcements. Yeah, he was a prominent figure in that Ayrshire Bulls side, finding himself most of the time on the wing, obviously wanting some more opportunities further in field. He has got the number 13 jersey on his back for Heriots this afternoon in a glorious day here in Melrose. The sun beaming down on this Greenyards pitch. Fairbairn links up with Crawford, who gives it to Townsend deep inside the Melrose 22. He lumps it downfield for King to gather. He's able just to tiptoe on that touchline, keep it in field, and Ben Evans, who's certainly a pacey character, looks to try and turn the wheels, but not able to find enough room. And King links up with Jones. Jones has got Leishman now, and he's a really dynamic back row character as well. And litters in with a couple of scores as Linus links up with Jones. Jones is then able to link up with Kitsuna now, and Jones back on the ball has found King. Sam Wallace is looking to try and manipulate that 2-on-1 situation, bursts through the challenge, and Glendinning is then able to brush off a couple of Melrose would-be challengers, powering his way towards the line, and Thomas Glendinning is going to get his first try in Heriot's colours. And he was made to work incredibly hard for that. Ben McLean, one player, grabbing onto the coattails of the Heriots outside centre, but he was able just to burst his way towards the line. And Heriots, they've had about 10-15% of possession, and they found themselves in front after 11.5 minutes. Absolutely, that was great play by Heriots. Interplay, forwards, backs, they were all involved. Some lovely offloading, and what a way to mark your debut in a Heriots jersey with a try in the first 11 minutes, and it was all power by the outside centre as well. He still had a lot of work to do from about 10 metres out, but got the legs pumping, players flailing in his wake, and over he goes for the first try of the afternoon for the Nails. It's always interesting when you see that build up to the play. Sam Wallace gathered the ball, and there was 3 Melrose players in that area. Kieran Clark then having to make the decision, does he go outside and cut out that pass and afford the run in? Kieran Clark stuck in, but the power that Sam Wallace can burst through the challenge,
what a player.
Even if you go in or out, you're going to be leaving a gap anyway. So he's a player that burst onto the scene from Heriot's Blues into Super Series rugby, and he picked up a few man of the matches on the way. As Jones has got the conversion attempt, he's just able to bring it back in towards the uprights and get the conversion and make it a full 7 points for Heriots. Very accomplished fighting their way back into this game by Heriots. No panic from what was deemed to be a good start by Melrose. One thing I would say about Melrose as well, their scrum has had parity at least in the first 2 comings together against this very experienced Heriots front row. Townsend takes the restart. He goes relatively short. It's flat back there by Runciman, who does well. Just on the ground, just able to paw it back to his Melrose teammates. The platform's then set for Crawford to give it to Will Ferry. Obviously Melrose missing the instrumental figure of Alan Ferry to an injury, a long-term injury as well, so we might not be seeing him at any point soon this season, as Douglas Crawford is able just to break free from centre field. There's a gap afforded to him at the side of the ruck, and he's wheeling his way towards the Heriots 22. He's now in the Heriots 22 as the Melrose players offer up some support. It's been tipped on to Will Owen now. And it's been stripped from the clutches of the Melrose hands as linking up there. St John Broad tried to get the ball through his mitts, but just not able to. The loose ball going back. Robin Sharp was in there with a great challenge for Melrose. Put the pressure on, read the danger. A very lightweight winger, but certainly intelligent. Read the danger there and cut it off straight away.
Oh, definitely. Almost from 50 metres. You know, Heriot still had 50 metres or 60 metres still to go, maybe more, but that was almost a try saver by the young winger. He flew in, bit in off his wing there, smashed the Heriot's player who fumbled the ball, but they had numbers on this near side, and brilliant intervention there from Sharp, and it needed to be.
Another scrum. It's a put into Melrose, and you obviously mentioned there's a bit of parity. And do you think a little bit of his perhaps energy reservation as well and conservation from Heriot's, knowing that if they can just drop the anchor and keep it still, then it gives them a little bit time later on in the game to turn the screw. Players like Josh Scott and Struan Cessford on the bench for Heriot's.
Serious depth coming off the bench, you're right.
Scrum. Again, relatively settled. It's starting to creep slightly, and the ball is then launched to Brett midfield, and then he's pushed forward by Chris Thompson, ex-Merchiston student, and he's young, playing his first season in senior rugby, and yeah, it's been an upward trajectory for the youngster. Tipped on there, again Willowan carrying forward. Melrose in Heriot's territory yet again, looking to reply straight away to that try from Glendinning. Melrose took an early 3-0 lead, but Heriot struck back through Glendinning. Brett now linking up, and Heriot's now having to try and form their defensive line yet again. Melrose looking to try and find that avenue to burst over that line again. Willowan, who's been involved in 3 or 4 carries in the last few sets of play, carries forward yet again. Melrose now burst through the Heriot's defence. A couple of metres shy of the Heriot's line now, and a couple of legs and hands coming in there. The referee Kieran Stark has got a good eye on that as Melrose inch closer and closer towards that line. Patience and level-headedness needed now for Melrose. The Heriot's defence bursts up quickly, and again Melrose work hard round the corner. There's a fight on the floor. Linus trying to get his hands on that, but he's been well dealt with by the clear out from Melrose. Willowan picks and goes. Now in the shadows of the uprights, the sun shining above the Greenyards has left long shadows on the pitch with the posts and the trees which surround the ground here as Melrose try and get over the line, and there was an almost a steal there from Heriot's, but it was afforded back to Melrose, and they dived towards that line but just not able to breach that whitewash just yet. Another chance around the corner again. The ball comes out pretty quickly. Townsend screaming on the ball, wanting a chance for the backs to go, as Brett then goes to the left hand side. A bounce off of the left foot, and he just went parallel across the pitch, dislodged the Heriot's defence, bounced off the right, and he bursts over for a try, and it was great footwork from Brett, but all the hard work done by the forwards there for Melrose, and they retake the lead.
Brilliant play by Melrose. What a finish by Rowley Brett. We've spoken about him before, what an asset he is for this club, but you're right, Dale, some immense carrying there, recycling the ball by the forwards, and we absolutely have a game on our hands here as it stands at the moment.
That'll do Rowley Brett's confidence the world of good. A player who, again, another young player in this lineup that a lot was, he had a promising future, perhaps curtailed a little bit by injuries, but showed no ill effects on this artificial surface. Great footwork to get over the try line there, and it does offer a chance for Luke Townsend to add the extras. 15 metres or so in from the touchline on the 22, right-footed strike, casually guides it in between the posts, and it's a full 7 points again this time for Melrose, and they lead 10 points to 7.
Thank you very much indeed to Dale and Robin. We'll return there very, very shortly. Just to bring you up to date with scores in the Premiership, it's Glasgow Hawks 0, Musselburgh 3, Marr 12, Selkirk 5, and down at the Greenyards at the moment, it's 10 points to 7 for Melrose. Into National 1, Biggar 5, Jed Forest 7, Stirling County 5, Peebles 0, and in the National League Cup first round pool matches, Greenock Wanderers 0, GHK 12, Hamilton 0, Allen Glens 14, Newton Stewart 3, Dumfries 0, Preston Lodge 14, Berwick 0. We'll cross to Sam Matthews shortly for an update there. And West of Scotland 19, Cartha Queen's Park 0. I think we can go to Poynder Park though. There's been a score there. Kelso against Watsonians, and here's David Ferguson.
Yes, Stuart, you're right. We've had a try for Kelso after just 10 minutes. Kelso really started this game very well at Poynder Park, and they've been on top the first 10 minutes really, and they got a deserved try. It's Harry Borthwick, their new number 8 from the Southern Knights, who broke off the back of the scrum. And I have to say the Kelso scrum really took on the Watsonians scrum and drove them back off several balls. Watsonians haven't really got going yet, but they're now in the 22 pressing the Kelso line. They've had several attacks. They've lost the ball in the Kelso 22 several times, and it has to be put down to Kelso. Defence has been phenomenal really. The tackling, everything they've done in defence has been great. When they're going forward, they're a threat every time they go forward, and you can hear the Watsonian staff alongside me not very happy with a decision going against them, but everything's been going against them in the first 20 minutes. Kelso have taken this game by the scruff of the neck. They lead by 7 points to 0. Try after 10 minutes by Harry Borthwick.
Thank you to David Ferguson. Biggar have increased their lead. It's Biggar 12, Jed Forest 7, and also GHK scoring 19 points now at Greenock Wanderers. Let's return to our feature match, Melrose against Heriots, and rejoin Robin and Dale.
Come back to us when there's a slight little break, but good timing, Stuart, because the referee is just signalling that he's going to get play back underway. A breakaway from Heriots almost resulted in a try, but some good tenacious defence yet again from Melrose was able just to douse that fire which was starting to burn on the right hand side here, the grandstand side at the Greenyards. But it's going to be a put into the scrum. It's going to be a Heriots ball. It's just shy of the Melrose 22, St John Broad, with his slightly floppy curly hair there. Just loiters by the tunnel, waits to roll the ball into the scrum yet again. And he waits patiently, rolls the ball in. You can see a little change. Rory Kirkpatrick goes to number 8 and takes up that position as Kitsuna gets the ball straight off of the scrum from his scrum half, St John Broad, who's there quickly, and now they've got numbers up on that far side. Glendinning with a kick of the heels, he puts on the afterburners and he's looking to go over for a double, and he stretches over the line, and Heriots from first phase ball are just able to get that try in the corner. Second phase actually, because they did break in the midfield, but St John Broad was there that quickly. It was almost as if he just kept the play alive. But again, Glendinning showing his importance to this Heriots side, and he's got a brace.
Oh, he has indeed. And you mentioned St John Broad there. I've been keeping an eye on his service. It's like lightning. Really is a slick pass of the ball, and wonderful, powerful outside break by Tom Glendinning, the new signing from the Ayrshire Bulls. And yeah, Dale, they've got a player there, haven't they?
He's a phenomenal player. He was really good for Ayrshire Bulls, perhaps because he was on the wing a lot of the time. Perhaps didn't get to show that real power. Sometimes he was perhaps getting asked a little bit too much of him at times. But in a forward-dominated team, when space was afforded to him, he could show his pace, which he did there. But his power has been really impressive so far. Being able to brush off about 5 challenges for the first try, and just being able to brush over a couple there. He spotted the gap and really backed himself as Jones now, just in a shadow which has been cast on the pitch by the tree, which is on the far side here at the Greenyards. On the 22 metre line, lines up, right-footed kick towards the uprights, and he's a very accomplished kicker and demonstrates exactly that as he adds the extras. And Heriots now, they stretch their lead 10 points to 14, but I think coming into the game, you do wonder what it's going to feel like, what the spectacle's going to be like. It's been a really entertaining game.
Oh, it sure has, Dale. And Melrose have given a great account of themselves thus far. There were a few raised eyebrows when the team sheet came out yesterday, myself included, just how many injuries they have. But yeah, they're giving a real good account of themselves thus far.
Leishman gathers the ball. He's been lifted by a couple of teammates. He's been brought back down to earth and spots there's a little pocket of space in front of him, so he looks to gobble that up. And then as play continues, Chris Keane able to link up with the likes of Jones. The ball getting into the wider channels, and now it's the first chance to really see Sakapaji up that far side, and a slightly pedestrian-esque style of running, but certainly eats up the ground. But it's gone loose there from Heriots from that next passage of play. Kitsuna has to dive on that ball and make sure that it ends back up in Heriots' hands. Melrose defence again, fanning out, looking to cover the pitch, and Jones opts to go to the sky. He's going to give something for Ben Evans to go and chase. He's got a height advantage against Kieran Clark, but it's a fairly equal battle in the air. Sharp has to get back to try and gather the ball, but the referee will bring that back for a knock-on. The knock-on there from Ben Evans, trying to gather the ball in the air. So it'll be a put into the scrum in the same position we had the last try from Heriot's, but this time it'll be a put into Melrose.
Yeah, just a sense here that Heriot's are starting to hit their straps now. Of course, let's not forget, it's the first day of the season. There's going to be teams are going to take time to get into their running, so to speak, but Heriot's just starting to look a dangerous outfit now every time they have ball in hand. You mentioned Sakapaji, Dale, before on the wing. It's great to see a couple of second team players from last season having been brought through. It was an all-conquering second team, but Sakapaji and Eamon Muir in the second row, a lot hoped for from these two players, and they've been promoted, in and among promoted from seconds in and among Super Rugby players.
Yeah, and a lot of players, a lot of competition on the bench as well. And the mention of players likes of Angus Hunter. There's Christian Townsend on the bench as well, and the aforementioned Josh Scott and Struan Sesford. So a lot of time to go in this game. 25 minutes gone. It's still Melrose 10, Heriot's 14 here at the Greenyards. And it's a put into the scrum for Melrose. A chance for them to try and clear their lines, get downfield, and it certainly has been an impressive start. And Jones as well, a player that obviously they have retained. He's looking to put a little bit more boot to ball now.
He is just trying to kick for territory, kick to put a bit of pressure on Melrose. Just about to feed this scrum here, Doug Crawford.
Crawford just juggling the ball. He takes a position at the left-hand side of the scrum, rolls the ball in. He's starting to make haste towards the back of the scrum. He's been picked by Fairbairn, who looks to try and get the better of Broad, who goes really low on the marauding number 8. Able to bring him down as again Will Owen off the scrum is able to carry forward, and Melrose trying to set that platform to launch downfield from the boot of Crawford. They do a good job of that. It's went relatively centre field, and Evans gathers. The rush up from Melrose is pretty good, but Dan King thinks he spots some space. Jones, standing still, just launches the ball to Glendinning. He looks to go on the outside of Thompson. He has at the first attempt, but the youngster is able to scrag down the experienced Glendinning on the 10-metre line. Jones then carries the ball to the line, looks to try and chip it forward. It's went into the hands of Broad, but just been knocked forward. And it's going to be a put into the scrum here for Melrose on their own 10-metre line as they look to try and claw Heriot's back. It's Heriot's who lead by 4 points here at the Greenyards, because it's currently Melrose 10, Heriot's 14.
Let's cross to David Ferguson at Poynder Park. There's been another try, but this time for Watsonians.
Yes, it's Watsonians in the second quarter. It's Kelso on the break again, but it is 7 points to 7 here. Kelso 7, Watsonians 7. We did have that try for Watsonians. It was just after 22nd minute, so 10 minutes in, it was Harry Bothwick for Kelso. 22nd minute, we had a try for Ronan Kerr, who made it. There was a great break through the middle of the park, and this time Watsonians managed just to hold on to ball once they got into the Kelso 22. They are dangerous when they've got ball, there's no doubt about that, across the Watsonians ranks, but they have really struggled to hold on to the ball in the face of some really fierce defence from Kelso today. So that try by Ronan Kerr was converted by Jason Baggett, and that gives that brings Watsonians back into the game in this second quarter. But as we speak, it's Kelso that are attacking halfway line. Kelso in possession. This game could go either way very early on, but 27 minutes played. Kelso 7, Watsonians 7.
That's David Ferguson. Let's go to Pennypit now for the first time and meet up with Sam Matthews. Berwick travelling down to play Preston Lodge.
And the home side really ramping up the pressure now. 20 minutes on the clock here at the Pennypit, and it is currently 19-0 to the home side, Preston Lodge. 2 tries from the centres, Blair, Robertson and Jordan Hare respectively, and now the second row, Alan Whittingham running one in from 30 metres after the most outrageous dummy you've ever seen on their opening competitive fixture of the season. A very high tempo offence being played by the home side this afternoon, and Berwick really looking to struggle for answers from this quick fire start by the home side. Score currently 19-0, Preston Lodge versus Berwick here at Pennypit.
In the Premiership, Edinburgh Accies 7, Hawick 0, Glasgow Hawks 0, Musselburgh 3. It's Marr 12, Selkirk 5, Melrose 10, Heriot 7 is the latest score. National 1, Jed Forest making a bit of a comeback now. Bigger 12, Jed Forest 14 at Hartree Mill. Stirling County 10, Peebles 0. And I'm just hearing Berwick have got a converted try, so that's now Preston Lodge 19, Berwick 7 in the National League Cup. West of Scotland 19, Cartha Queen's Park 0, Hamilton 0, Allen Glens 21, Greenock Wanderers 0, GHK 24. Those are the latest scores. Let's return to the Greenyards.
Melrose on the attack, launched the ball to Brett, who links up with his centre partner Chris Thompson. Looks to truck it forward centre field. Townsend is then being defended well by the Heriot's defence as it rushes up on the fly half. And again on the 10 metre line. Centre field, Melrose 10, Heriot's 14. Almost half an hour played here in the Arnold Clark Men's Premiership. Melrose go towards that far side now, and Fairbairn is driven back in the challenge by Sam Wallace. Has been relatively quiet, but perhaps due to the lack of ball that's been had by this Heriot side, it's gone loose, but the referee is signalling the penalty is going to go the way of the home side. And this is an interesting point. There's 10 minutes to go in the first half, and this looks like it's a penalty that perhaps Townsend might eye up, but you think they'll try and go down the line here?
I think they will, Dale. To be honest, I think there's potentially, they've scored a try early on. I think there's a bonus point to be had here today, and we spoke about it in the preview show and pre-match. I think if Melrose on paper, looking at the two squads on paper, if Melrose can get anything from this today, they've absolutely won the lottery. And if even that's just a bonus point, for 4 tries, then that would be a huge bonus.
They do kick it down the line, set up the lining. They did that earlier on in the game. McLean not able to find his target. They are this time. It's off the top, and then charging forward was Fairbairn, just wishing the ball would land in his hands, but just overran it. So Crawford had to truck it forward, and now it's up to the forwards now to carry and just show a little bit of their muscle and test this Heriot's defensive line. They are able to splinter in between the Heriot's defenders. It's gone loose. Heriot's then dive on the ball, but the referee signals the penalty, and this time it's right in front of the uprights for diving off of the ball. And you do wonder, this return to this level, you can be as structured as you like, but when opposition perhaps frustrate you and dislodge that structure, it's really hard to get any momentum in the game, and you feel Heriots are having a little bit of that. And right in front of the posts, Luke Townsend turns right, kicks it off as they want to have a little go of that try line again.
Oh yeah, bang in front and about 6 metres away from the sticks as well, so that's a real signal.
I reckon you could have kicked that.
Intent. I would have backheeled that one over there. A real signal intent with half an hour gone. Melrose are in this for a bonus point, minimally.
Perhaps not with the Crocs that you have on this afternoon here, but it's a throw in to the line out for Melrose. Ben McLean eyes this one up. A little bit of movement in that line, and it's been flapped back there by Heriot, so they're able to just thwart that attempt from this Melrose side. A few times that Melrose have been in a really dangerous position. On a couple of occasions, they've just not been able to hit their target. Jones now sits in the pocket and just lumps it downfield. It's been watched all the way there by Morgan Gabe, who's been relatively quiet in the opening exchanges of this game. But Heriot's able just to release the pressure valve slightly.
Yeah, and there'll be worthies around here that will be giving it the usual, take the points. And I'm normally an aficionado of taking the points, but I don't know what's happened to me over the summer. But I agree with what Melrose tried to do there, Dale. Like I say, I think if they can get anything out of this game today, it's a massive bonus.
Positive to see. We heard Scott Wight talk about it before in the pre-match build-up, and I think it's certainly a plan. If they can get to half-time and be within touching distance, try and get as much as they can and squeeze any opportunity out of it, and they're obviously looking to try and maximise that with tries. You do wonder though, they've spent a lot of time in Heriot's territory inside the 22. They've frustrated their opposition and gained a couple of penalties as well by it. You do wonder if there would have been more opportunities to come their way. William Ferry carries forward now for Melrose inside the Heriot's half. Crawford just signalling where he wants his forward pack to sit, runs him in, bounces off the first to challenge. That's relatively easy for the Melrose captain. Crawford looks to just dink it over. He's almost able to gather, but the towering figure of Hugh McLaren was just able to get above the slightly shorter Douglas Crawford. It was almost slightly unfair. It almost looked like bullying there.
Yeah, he's a big man. He's a big old man, McLaren. And Melrose, the Heriots have copped up, I think, by my calculation, their 5th penalty of the afternoon, and I can't actually recall Melrose conceding one. which even if they have, they've conceded 1 or 2, which is quite remarkable with only 32 minutes gone. But again, they've given up the opportunity of 3 points here, Melrose, to go down into the 22 into the touchline.
Yeah, and I think that probably comes back to the point of the fact that Melrose have enjoyed a lot of territory and have been gaining a lot of penalties. Now, they've not had much to show for it in the last 10 minutes or so. They could have been 6 or 9 points there if they wanted to take it, but how this narrative of this game will pan out is yet to be written. And the driving maul from that line out is certainly making great inroads in what is notoriously a difficult maul to drive against. The Heriot's forward pack has to retreat a good 10 metres, and then round the side there, Zen Shafarjak arrives with the ball in hand. He's brought to ground. Crawford gives it to Brett. He throws the dummy, the Melrose try scorer in this game. McLean now breaks through the Heriot's defensive line, almost got the free rein to get towards the line, but Melrose charging yet again, twisting and weaving and getting the ball down. It looks like there's a try there. The referee not quick to signal anything.
I think Fairbairn's possibly lost control of that, Dale, right at the last second.
A little hold of the ear to communicate with the assistant referees here. David Changling on the stand side. Rory Leishman in conversation with the match official. Luke Townsend quick to go and gather the ball. The referee has awarded the scrum to Melrose. So, an opportunity to get that 5 points, which probably would have been a nailed-on 7 as we approach half-time. 5 minutes remain in the first half here at the Greenyards in the Arnold Clark Men's Premiership. Melrose 10, Heriot's 14, and there's an attacking scrum coming on here for Melrose, 5 metres away from the Heriot's line. And a golden opportunity to try and retake the lead here for the home side. Douglas Crawford waits. The referee is just having a little bit of time off here. Maybe a good time to perhaps travel round the grounds, go and join Stuart Cameron again, as there's going to be a break in play here. And it's currently Melrose 10, Heriot's 14.
Yes, Edinburgh Accies 7, Hawick 3. A Lee Armstrong penalty getting Hawick to within 4 points down at Rayburn Place. Glasgow Hawks 12, Musselburgh 3. That's a second try for Glasgow Hawks. Kelso 7, Watsonians 7 down at Poynder Park. Marr 12, Selkirk 5. Couple of tries on the board for Marr. Jack Fisher scoring 1 for Selkirk, and Melrose 10, Heriot's 14, of course, is the latest score at the moment down at the Greenyards. International 1, it's bigger 12, Jed Forest 21. A third try for Jed Forest now, all converted. Robbie Shiragib and Ben Fotheringham getting the last 2 for them. Also in the National League 1, Stirling County getting their third try now. Stirling County 15, Peebles 3. Stirling hot favourites to take that league on day 1. National League Cup first round pool matches. Greenock Wanderers 0, GHK 38, Hamilton 5, Allen Glens 21, Newton Stewart 6, Dumfries 5 in what you could call a derby, I suppose, of sorts. Not that Newton Stewart are particularly near any of them. Preston Lodge 19, Berwick 7. Berwick getting a converted try back after going 19-0 down, and 19-0 is the score at Burnbrae, west of Scotland, against Carther Queen's Park. Let's return to the Greenyards.
A bit of ongoing treatment here for the Melrose player who's had to take a knee, and the Heriots have just retreated back to the try line. But Robin, you spoke to Scott Wight at the start of the game, and I think if you were to say to him after 36 minutes or so the score was going to be 10 points to 14 and Heriots' advantage, I think they would take that.
Oh, I think you'd absolutely bite your hand off there. Like I said, you mentioned it before, some of the names that are missing, key names in this Melrose, right in the Melrose ranks today, the Jack Dobies, the Sam Derricks, the Alan Ferries. I think Whitey would have absolutely, like I say, you'd have taken that there and then. A 4-point deficit as we approach half time, and Melrose with a brilliant attacking platform here, let's not forget.
Scrum's been a real area of strength for both of these sides. Not a lot given between both packs, so it'll be interesting to see how both sets of forwards approach this set piece. Will Heriots try and put a bit of pressure on the hosts, try and disrupt the ball, or will they just drop the anchor? Melrose have a chance to try and flex their muscles as well. Crawford stoops down, and the Melrose scrum is starting to charge forward. The penalty is coming on there as well. It is going towards the line. Fairbairn has got that. The referee is blown up for the scrum peaking. and they got over the line, and they got the ball down, and although there's a little bit of disgruntlement from the spectators here, you've got to argue that's probably the right decision. It wasn't really a scrum.
Yeah, it become a bit of a mess, but it was moving forward, and it hadn't stopped moving forward. I'd like to say it hadn't become the players standing up, a wee bit of a mess, but yeah, Melrose possibly feel slightly aggrieved there, and you know, if that happens again or it happens for a third time, is there a shout for a penalty try? But this pretty inexperienced by Super Rugby standards Melrose pack giving a great account of himself at the moment.
Certainly in the forwards, they're getting the better of this Heriot's side. Take 2 at the scrum, 5 metres away from the Heriot's line. Crawford, a sense of deja vu, stoops down again and rolls it in. This time it is sturdy from the visitors. They're able to deal with that pressure. Breaking off there is Fairbairn. He's almost just been able to get away from Callum Shand, who just hangs on for dear life and is able to stop the Melrose number 8 getting towards the line. And from that, Heriots are just able to suffocate the number 8 and win the penalty. And they'll get the chance now to kick downfield, relieve the pressure and maintain this 4-point advantage that they currently have. Yeah, and there's some backslapping going on among the Heriots players, and no wonder. They've got off the hook there, just held on a fraction too long. He'd got a wee, through no fault of his own, Fairbairn, who's been monumentally impressive so far in this game. He got a wee bit isolated as he tried to burst for the line, and that's given Jones the opportunity to send it maybe 30 or 40 metres and just relieve the pressure that wee bit, as you said, though. Kicks the ball downfield now in between the 10 metre line and the 22 inside the Heriots half on the bank inside here at the Greenyards, and what is a glorious day. The sun bouncing off the ground here at the home of Melrose Rugby, and the home of no other now, which is quite nice to see as the ball's been thrown into the line now. St John Broad just fires an absolute missile to Jones, who's probably standing a little bit wider than most 10s would have, such as the force and the balance of that pass. Glendinning finds King. King is then looking to find Evans. He puts in a big fend to Sharp, who is coming across, but he's just grazed the sideline, and Sharp is on the ground still. He's certainly taking a sore one as Evans looked to get a physical fend onto the winger who was coming across. He's now sitting up, which is good to see. You almost heard the slight slap as his arm managed just to touch a part of it. Robin Sharp's, I think it was his head perhaps, but he's back, he's taking a glug of water, and there's going to be a scrum down right in front. Yeah, no quarter asked, none given by the two wide men there. Robin Sharp's really put his body on the line so far this afternoon. The 2024 Melrosian, slight figure as you mentioned before, Dale, but he's been all heart in the first 40 minutes here. He's up, he's swaggering back as well. That's a confident walk from the Melrose left winger. He knows he's playing well, and why not? As are a number of players this afternoon so far. Right in front of us here, Will Owens, another one. He's really put himself about so far in the first 40. Fair play. Been omnipresent in the open play for Melrose. He's offered himself up for a few carries and made some good ground as well. The scrum directly in front of us on the halfway line crashes together as Crawford again stoops down and feeds the ball into the scrum. He then gives it to Brett, who acts as first receiver, linking up with Townsend, and there's an acre of space there for Kieran Clark to burst through. He's got some support there for Thompson. He doesn't need him. He's able to brush on the inside of Evans, and now Melrose are in behind. Brett looks to go quickly. Townsend linking up. Is this a chance for Gabe to go in the corner? And it is, and Melrose get that score, and they take the lead here at the Greenyards as we approach half time. And what a passage of play there from the home side. Kieran Clark just lit the blue touch paper and was able to just make some good decisions and quick play, distribution there from Douglas Crawford. Is able to get Gabe in some space, and it's I said he's been quiet, but he's allowed to be quiet if he can get that score in the corner. Brilliant play there from Melrose. Oh, an absolute worldie of a try off first phase from Melrose, from scrum on halfway, parting the Red Sea. Kieran Clark rolling back the years to show what he's all about, and then a couple of passes later, it's all about the debutants today, Dale, because Morgan Gabe, I think with probably his first touch of the ball on 41 minutes, has gone in for a try on his first appearance in the black and yellow jersey. I was sitting midweek thinking about how this Premiership was going to unfold, and thinking there's not really, and especially in National 1 as well, there's not really any chance of any upsets, and it'll go to form. And I'll tell you what, the Melrose are starting to prove me wrong. They're playing terrifically here at the Greenyards as Townsend lines up the conversion attempt. He gets underneath it. He's watching it just drift in front of the uprights. As David Chang Ling, the assistant referee, gathers the ball and makes his way back towards the stand side. But Melrose do get their noses in front here, 15 points to 14. And if you were just coming into watching Premiership rugby, not only would you be pretty satisfied with the spectacle that you've seen in front of you, but you would have absolutely no idea of what came before it as well, because such has been the effort of this Melrose side so far.
Smart play.
Very smart play from the restart there from Will Ferry. Colin the mark, quick tap, and then back to Douglas Crawford, who can kick it downfield. So one of the new trial laws that are in action so far this season is Colin the mark inside the 22 from a restart. And that's good game knowledge there from the back row.
Yeah, it certainly is. And it's then ending up in the midst of Doug Crawford, who's sent a left foot perler down to halfway. So territorial advantage to Melrose there. And yeah, smart play by the back row. And you'd have got, I would have given you ridiculously long odds on this being the outcome as we approach half time. Dale, but there's time yet.
Towards the tail of the line out, Jones now is trying to give it to Callum Shan, the towering figure, the replacement who came on for Jason Hill earlier on in the game, just carries towards that halfway line now. Chris Keane, familiar surroundings, carries forward now. Kitsuna linking up with Jones, and then King bursts through. He's able to break free from the first challenge, and then he's linking up on the far side with the winger Sakapaji, and he's going to go in for a reply score straight away. And it perhaps will take a little bit of the wind out of the sails of Melrose, but what a try from Heriots from the halfway line, and setting up the platform, and good link up from Kitsuna, and unable to get the ball into the wider channels. And as you mentioned before, Sakapaji found himself mainly in the twos last year, scoring the Premiership today.
Premiership scorer indeed, and what a blow to the guts that is for Melrose, looking at going down the half-time tunnel in the lead against all the odds. And yes, sucker punch from the nails. Great play, you have to say. Break down that far side and a finish by the pacey winger, Sakapaji. But yeah, we've got a bit of a ding-dong on the go here.
It's been a highly entertaining game. And as soon as there was calls about rugby forming back into the Premiership, I for one was certainly looking forward to it. This is the place where I think that all our rugby players should be travelling through and going on to other things elsewhere. The quality that's been on display so far has been certainly a step up from what we've seen in previous years, I would say. Jones with a conversion attempt and kicks it towards the uprights. It's successful, and that is going to be the final action of this first half here. A quick word, Robin. It has been a highly entertaining game before we run through the action.
Yeah, glorious weather, fast track, obviously the synthetic surface here. And Melrose have given a vastly understrength. Melrose have given a great account of themselves so far this afternoon. Let's not forget that a number of these players might not even have been first team regulars in what ended up a mid-table National 1 team last year, Dale. Let's not forget that. But yeah, giving a brilliant account of themselves, but in saying that, Heriots with enough ball look like they could score at will.
Townsend got the scoring underway here, 3 points to 0 after 8 minutes with a penalty, but then a try from Glendinning was cancelled out by Brett. Glendinning got his double, and then Melrose thought they were going down the tunnel at half time in the lead after that try from Gabe in the corner. But at the last blow of the first half, Sakapaji was able just to stride in after some great work from the likes of Kitsuna and Dan King as well, linking up with the winger to go in for that try. Converted by Jones. It means here at the Greenyards in the Arnold Clark Men's Premiership at half time, it's the host Melrose 15, Heriots 21.
Thank you to Robin and Dale. My goodness, breathless stuff down at the Greenyards this afternoon. That score line is currently 15-21 in favour of Heriots. But my goodness, certainly a great performance from the home side there. Let's cross over to Poynder Park now. It's half time between Kelso and Watsonians. Here's David Ferguson.
Thank you, Stuart. And it's good news for Borders fans as Kelso lead Watsonians here at Poynder Park by 10 points to 7. It's a tight match. I think it's going to go to the wire, this one, but we're seeing some great rugby here at Poynder Park and a lovely sunny afternoon as well. It's Harry Borthwick that got the scoreboard moving for Kelso with a try after just 10 minutes. The big number 8 who signed from Southern Knights, moved to Kelso just the last year. He's been a great find for Kelso, and he's been dominant throughout the game today, picking off from the back of scrums and on rucks, and he's proven very hard to stop, and it was a pick and go after a good bit of pressure from Kelso throughout that first 10 minutes. They really never took the foot off the accelerator deep in the Watsonians half. Watsonians contributed to their own downfall with a number of mistakes, some poor kicks. When they did get the ball, they lost it in their own line out with a poor line out throw. They had a couple of poor line out throws, and they gave the ball away in contact. To be fair, you've got to look at the other side of it, and a lot of that is down to the Kelso defence. So the Kelso are making it really hard for Watsonians when they do get down the field and they get near the Kelso 22, with every player putting in some really big tackles, which is forcing the ball out of the Watsonians' hands on a regular, with a great regularity throughout the game so far. Watsonians did come back in that second quarter. When they did manage to hold on to the ball, you could see the threat, and they did move the ball there 2 or 3 times when they moved the ball across the backs, having sucked in lots of players, and they only really had needed a final pass to go to hand and they would have scored. Didn't go to hand several times. Dom Coates, Josh Mitchell, they were moving the ball wide. It didn't go to hands. They kept it in hand themselves. Both Dom Coates, a good fullback, South African born. He came up from the Gloucester Academy up to Scotland to play. He's looking a dangerous threat from fullback when he does have the ball in his hands. He was the one who created the threat. He made a great break down the middle of the park, a good 30-40 yards, offloaded to Josh Mitchell, and although Kelso covered that, when Watsonians came back again, they did manage to get the ball wide to Ronan Kerr. It did come long. There was a long pass that went wide. Watsonians did have a line out. They took the line out. It came to the tail of Neil Irvin Hess. Players will remember him. He played for Melrose a few years ago. Again, prominent player today for Watsonians at number 8. He was able to suck in lots of players. The forwards rumbled it up a couple of times, and then suddenly there was a quick pass, and Ronan Kerr found himself in acres of space left of the posts, an easy touchdown, and that brought the scores level with the conversion from Jason Baggett, cancelling out the one earlier from Dwayne Patterson to make it 7-7 after 22 minutes. The last sort of 18 minutes of the half has been both teams, I think, taking a bit of the foot off, trying to play for territory, trying to get the ball down the other half and trying to keep the ball out of their own half, and there've not really been many chances at goal, and we've probably seen but that's been indicated by Kelso going for goal when they've had a couple of penalties. So Dwayne Patterson went from about 40 metres out in the half hour. He pushed it just right of the post. However, just a couple of minutes until half-time, before half-time, he took one on very close to halfway, I'd say maybe 47, 48 metres just left of the post, and it went all the way, sailed right between the uprights to a great roar from the Kelso support. So that conversion, that penalty from Dwayne Patterson is what keeps the Kelso just in front, but I think we're set up for a cracking second half here at Poynder Park. But half-time is Kelso 10, Watsonians 7.
David Ferguson down at Poynder Park this afternoon. We'll have half-time scores for you right after the break.
This is Rugby Radio. Rugby Radio.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
Borders water, Borders barley and Borders people. That's what makes the Borders Distillery. Working exclusively with local farmers, the Borders Distillery is bringing whiskey making back to the region. Our award-winning distillery is open to everyone, where you can meet the people behind the scenes, explore our wash house and shop quality local products. Tour your local distillery and discover the spirit of the Borders. Full details at thebordersdistillery.com. Always enjoy our spirit responsibly. Under 18s must be accompanied by an adult when visiting the Borders Distillery.
Your pet deserves the best, and that's why your pet deserves the care and treatment offered by Border Vets. We focus on delivering the very best care to each and every one of our patients and clients. We get to know you and your pet and offer treatments tailored to every animal's individual needs from our conveniently located surgeries in Galashiels, Selkirk and Earlston. Ask about our Pet Health Club for your cat or dog, giving you peace of mind by spreading the cost of vaccinations, regular checks and more. From dental care to travelling abroad and the whole range of veterinary services, bordervets.co.uk is where you'll find everything you need to know. Border Vets, where your pets are part of our family.
This is Rugby Radio. Rugby Radio.
Yes, lots of rugby going on today. Let's cross over to Penny Pit. It's half-time in the National League Cup match between Preston Lodge and Berwick. Here's Sam Matthews.
Half-time at the Penny Pit, and the home side has a commanding lead going into the half-time. Oranges, 26 points to 7 for the home side. 4 tries on the board for Preston Lodge through Jordan Hare, Blair Robertson, Alan Whittingham and the captain Jack Gordon getting the 4th. 3 out of 4 from the tee for Falgate off the back of these tries, with 1 missed penalty to his name as well. Berwick, on the other hand, did see a bit of a glimmer of hope when they managed to get into the opposition's half. The returning man, Ewan Thompson, going over the whitewash for the away side this afternoon. Both sides go into the half-time team talks with 2 very different outlooks on the first 40 minutes. Berwick will be looking to wake up and get their season started properly in the second half, and Preston Lodge will be looking to see if they can maintain this high attacking rugby that they are branding so far this afternoon. Really interesting tie here at the sun-kissed Penny Pit down by the waterfront. All to come in the second half. Score is Preston Lodge 26, Berwick 7.
Sam Matthews reporting from Penny Pit, and Rory Anderson is at Netherdale for us. Gala against Highland.
It's half-time here at Netherdale with Gala scraping ahead of the break 14-12. Tries for Gala came from their number 2 Jack Eason and number 6 Tim McCavanagh, both converted by Harris Rutherford, who on his return to Netherdale is proving to be accurate with the boot. Highland received 2 yellow cards in the first half, which made them vulnerable to a strong oncoming attack from Gala. Highland's scores came from their number 1 Stephen Murray and their number 6 Richie Dinnis, with only 1 being converted, leaving them just short at the break. Gala 14, Highland 12.
And what about Hawick at Edinburgh Accies? Another close one there. Here's Hugh Brown.
For the first quarter, Hawick weren't able to get out of their own half, with Accies pushing forward, and their pressure paid off. Flanker Toby Edwin crossed the line, converted by Ross Cadzo. It wasn't until about half an hour that Hawick finally found some momentum. A penalty from Lee Armstrong in 26 minutes, followed a few minutes later by a pushover try from the scrum, touchdown by Fraser Rennick, converted successfully, put the Greens in front. But Accies hit back with a second try for Edwin on the stroke of half-time, and the conversion made it at the interval. Edinburgh Accies 14, Hawick 10.
Hugh Brown at Rayburn Place this afternoon. Let's have a look at the half-times then in the Premiership. Edinburgh Accies 14, Hawick 10, as Hugh's just said. Glasgow Hawks 12, Musselburgh 3, that game being played at Balgray. Kelso 10, Watsonians 7, Marr 26, Selkirk 5, so the bonus point for Marr already in the bag at Fullerton Park. And Melrose 15, Heriots 21 down at the Greenyards will be returning there very, very shortly indeed. In National 1, half-time, Biggar 12, Jed Forest 28. Great news for Jed Forest fans. They didn't have any luck last season. They've already got a try bonus at the very least down there at Hartree Mill. Gala 14, Highland 12 is the latest score at half-time at Netherdale. And Stirling County 15, Peebles 6. A lot of people's thinking that Stirling County is going to just walk away with this league, but Peebles, newly promoted from National 2, are certainly making a fight of it down at Bridge Hoch. In National League Cup first round pools at the moment, it's Falkirk 15, Kirkcaldy 8. That's a half-time score. Greenock Wanderers 0, GHK 52. That is a huge score. Hamilton 5, Allen Glens 21, Newton Stewart 6, Dumfries 8. Preston Lodge 26, Berwick 7. In fact, that's changed. I'm hearing 26-14. Berwick have scored another converted try, so that's getting tight at Penny Pit. 26-14 to Preston Lodge now, and West of Scotland 24, Carther Queen's Park 0. David Ferguson has just said that Kelso scored a try. Let's quickly return to him.
Yes, they have. What a start to this second half at the Poynder Park. It's just 3 minutes in, and we saw some fantastic back play there by Kelso. Watsonians started with a lot of possession. They were knocked back in the tackle. It was a scrum. Kelso moved the ball wide, and there was a sublime little pass from Murray Woodcock, who came on in the first half, just got the ball away to Liam Herdman. He put on the afterburners, raced towards the 22, drew the last man, fed Dwayne Patterson. He still had some work to do to get past a couple of defenders, but he cut inside all the way to the post, and as we watch at the moment, Dwayne Patterson is striking the ball through the upright, so you can hear from the cheering. So that's just 4 minutes now into the second half. A great start to the second half by Kelso. Kelso lead Watsonians 17-7.
OK, they're coming back onto the pitch now at the Greenyards, so time to return to there with Dale Clancy and also Robin Purdie. Half-time score, you'll remember, is Melrose 15, Heriot's 21.
Referee blasts his whistle for the second half, and Ross Jones gets play underway. He's kicking from right to left, and there's a mark called inside the Melrose 22. A reminder that off a restart now, you can call a mark under one of the trial laws, and one of the players to use that law was Douglas Crawford. He kicks it downfield, and he's able to get a good gain from an acute angle. And it'll be interesting to see how Melrose approach the second half, especially when the bench starts to kind of play its part, because you would argue that there's a lot more experienced and probably a bit more quality on that Heriot's bench.
Oh, there's no argument about it. Dale, they are fully stacked on the bench, and let's not forget they've got a man extra as well. Melrose only 6 on the bench, such as their injury plight, to Heriot's 7, so there's a slight advantage for the Nails as well.
Leishman gathers at the apex of that line out, then he gives it to Broad, who finds Jones, who's then looking to dispatch a teammate into that defensive Melrose line. Chris Keane working hard round the corner, a player who has played for a plethora of clubs, Gala, Kelso, Melrose, and also Heriot's as well. Decorated honours and experienced. The front row forward and almost intercepted there by Rolly Brett. A good link up there by Glendinning and Broad, but in the middle was Rolly Brett with his grey and a teal scrum cap, was just in the right position but just not able to gather the ball, because that could have been a breakaway.
Teal, that's even worse. That's even worse than when you mentioned hummus at Peebles.
Oh, is it?
But no, you're joking aside, that was a great intervention by Rolly Brett there. He read the play, and if that had ended up in the bread basket, he was gone under the sticks at that. So a wee bit of a let off for Heriot's there early in this second half.
I can't believe a man with a Melrose postcode is giving me a hard time for hummus. Scrum down, it's going to be a Heriot's ball. St John Broad just spinning it in his hands, waiting for the forwards to again clatter together. Rolls it in again at that angle to get towards the back feet of that front row, and it's starting to crane towards the side, but he's able to get the ball to Kitsuna, and then Glendinning. He thinks he should have a player there, but Sakapaji eventually does get to that position and gathers the loose ball. It's been hacked downfield and out on the full, and Heriot's not as accurate from that passage of play than perhaps they were in the first half. And again, a lot of that has got to do with Melrose's defence, able to cover that part of the pitch pretty well and drift across.
Yeah, just a wee bit untidy from Heriot's so far in this second half. I mean, there's only 2.5 minutes gone, but there was almost an interception against them. That was a wee bit of loose play in the back line, which resulted on the ball going to ground. So yeah, just need to up the accuracy a wee bit, but let's not forget this is 42 minutes into the new season.
McLean finds Runciman. Crawford has then got Townsend, and Ferry has then got his knees up in the middle of the field, looking to try and breach this Heriot's defence. The cover gets there pretty quickly for Melrose as Townsend goes against the grain. Out the back now, trying to find Kieran Clark, but the ball has been fumbled. King gathers, and then for Heriot's it has been knocked forward again. Scrappy on that far side. Melrose looked relatively comfortable in that passage of play, but the defence just busting up on Kieran Clark, knowing perhaps what danger he does pose. I'm perhaps a bit critical. He's been a player who's perhaps just not been able to really build that momentum, struggling with a bit of injuries, but at his best, he's a big handful for the opposition.
Definitely. That was evidenced in the first half when he went through, like a hot knife through butter in the run up to one of the Melrose tries, and he burst onto the scene. I think from memory, he's a 16-year-old player of the tournament at Earlston Sevens, and he'll just be looking to get back in the kind of hitting the heights territory.
St John Broad waits to get the ball back into play. Another set piece, another scrum here for Heriot's. I think the scrum will be an interesting point as this game goes on, as the ball is just squirmed from that scrum. Douglas Crawford in the right place at the right time is able just to claw it back on the side of Melrose. The advantage coming for the home side. Runciman with his middle row partner Thomas Brown, two players that are going to be instrumental for them this season. Townsend puts it on the right foot and spirals it towards King, who's having to watch it. He was standing in a position that the ball traditionally probably would have fell to, but how awkward that ball was in the air. He had to move quickly to gather, and now McLean gathers, finds Townsend, and he coasts towards the halfway line to set up a platform for Melrose to try and attack from. Chris Thompson links up with McLean. McLean tries to put boot to ball, keep play alive. It's been hacked downfield there by Glendinning, but he just hacks it straight off the field of play. That's a good game for Melrose.
Oh, definitely. 5 minutes into the second half, and they're very much in the fight here still. 6 points adrift. We're not quite into if Heriot score next, Melrose are out of it territory, but Melrose, even if they can kick a penalty or something like that, just as the minutes creep on, and they just need to stay in the fight here, Dale.
Yeah, I think perhaps it wouldn't be a killer blow, but you do feel that the next score in this game is going to be pivotal to kind of the way that the rest of it will pan out. Yeah. Scrappy line out there, but Wallace gathers. Jones now gives it to Kitsuna. He's got some players outside him. Sakapaji working hard off of his wing, is able to truck it forward. He's got some support there. The counter attack coming on there from Thompson, who is perhaps fighting above his in his weight category there, just able to drive off a few of the Heriot's players. Broad looks to go on the blind side. Wallace looks to burst through, offload off the deck. It was almost intercepted there by Gabe. A try scorer in the first half for Melrose, and it's certainly become very attritional here at the Greenyards. Leishman supported there by Linus. Doesn't make many yards, but does retain the ball. Jones flat to Keane, and then tips the ball on, but good defence there. A counter attack coming on here for Melrose if they can gather the ball. Sharp is one of the players to gather. He's just ran straight into the chest of Chris Keane, and play comes to a natural end there as it's been knocked on by Heriot. It'll come back for a scrum, but it's not just the attack for Melrose, it's the way that they've approached this game, the way that they've got themselves into positions in the park that probably you'd be expecting Heriots to do that a little bit more. So, it's almost been a kind of flip of the coin.
Oh, definitely. They've just been so gutsy so far. And I think, if the outcome of this game, if Scott Wight, for example, had been given that the outcome of this game is simply just going to be that every single player in your squad is going to leave it all out there, then he's certainly getting that. Because on paper, at least, they should not be as close on the coattails to Heriots as they currently are. But as I've said before, Dale, you do just feel that from an attacking point of view, the more ball that Heriots get, if they do as this match wears on, then you do feel they've got tries in them.
Scrum, centre field. The Heriots number 8, Leishman's toe just breaching the 10 metre line inside the Melrose half. Crawford rolls the ball in. Waiting at the base of that scrum is Rory Lindsay, the wild-haired Rory Lindsay, as it's stabbed forward by Townsend, and King in the full-back position, then returns the ball downfield to Townsend. He doesn't call the mark inside his own 22, takes his time, then puts it into the air. A little bit of afters there from King and Townsend, who were teammates not that long ago, and King perhaps just trying to rub salt into the wounds here. But we've played 8 minutes in the second half here in the Arnold Clark Men's Premiership, and it's still the same score as it was at half time. It's Melrose 15, Heriots 21.
Well, it might be the same score at the Greenyards, but not the case at Poynder Park. David Ferguson.
No, that's for sure. We've had quite a start to this second half. We told you about Dwayne Patterson scoring after just 3 minutes in the second half, making it 17-10 to Kelso. Then we had a very quick try from Watsonians, who brought themselves straight back into the game. 3 minutes later, Stuart Allison went over. Actually came from Harry Borthwick, who've raved about him all day. He's playing really well, the Kelso number 8. He dropped the restart after their own try, and that gave the platform to Watsonians to put some pressure on, and they finished it by going over just at the posts after a few one-out moves. But it was only about 3 minutes later after that, and we're at 52nd minute in the second half, so only 12 minutes in, but it was 8 minutes in when Kelso put together another move, and it was a bit like the first one. When they could put the ball through the hands, Kelso, they have got some really quick and really clever backs, and this time it was actually Cammy Thompson, the back row, who made a really decisive pass. Murray Woodcock again made a break. We mentioned him earlier. He made a break through the middle. He's a back row who looks like a centre at times, looks like a winger, and he set up the platform. They were in behind Watsonians. They moved the ball. Cammy Thompson fed it very quickly. Nice hands to Liam Herdman. He drew the last defender and passed wide to Dwayne Patterson, and his pace took him. Watsonians guys were coming flying across to take him into touch, but his pace was just too much. Patterson went diving into the left hand corner and he missed the conversion. It went just past, with the wind taking it just past the posts, so that makes it 22 points to 14 here to Kelso. But I'm just looking at the moment, and Watsonians are lining up a penalty in the middle of the park. It's their standoff. Jason Baggett, their co-captain, who's looking to try and cut that deficit again. They were just 14 minutes into the second half here. The sun in his eyes. Jason Baggett down the middle of the park, lines it up towards the dressing room, and it's a cracking kick. That has gone way over. It's heading over the changing rooms and into the tennis courts over there at Kelso, and it's a cracker. The flags go up to show that it did make it between the posts, no doubt about that, but that cuts the gap a little. But it's still an exciting game here, and Kelso have the lead. 14 minutes into the second half, it's Kelso 22, Watsonians 17.
Plenty of excitement down there, and excitement at Penny Pit as well. Let's return to Sam Matthews.
The half-time origins must have worked for the visiting side this afternoon. The score currently sits Preston Lodge 26, Berwick 21. 2 tries quickly after half-time. First from Cammy Rogerson and second from Ryan Wilson, the ever-reliable. Both converted by the new man in the 10 jersey, Ben Simmons, for Berwick. They have now came within a score. This is all set to play for with just over 20 minutes remaining here at the Penny Pit. The score is Preston Lodge 26, Berwick 21.
Latest from Rayburn Place, it's Edinburgh Accies 14, Hawick 10. Don't forget Ayr and Currie, that's going to be kicking off at 4:10 any time now. Glasgow Hawks 12, Musselburgh 8 now. Kelso 22, Watsonians 17 at Poynder Park. Marr 33, Selkirk 5, and Melrose 15, Heriots 21 rejoin our team down there very, very shortly. And I'm just hearing Berwick have taken the lead. Preston Lodge 26, Berwick 28 is a latest score. Bigger 19, Jed Forest 28 in National 1. It's now Gala 21, Highland 12, Stirling County now beginning to turn on the gas. Stirling County 27 with a bonus point, Peebles 6. Let's return to the Greenyards.
Yes, and in the absence, as we went round the grounds, Heriots have stretched their lead here. It was a scrappy score from the visitors. It was a ball which Douglas Crawford looked like he dealt with brilliantly from the base of the scrum under a bit of pressure inside his own territory, and it went pretty loose. And waiting there was Ross Jones, who was able to gather the ball and had just enough pace to get over the line. He converted his own try as well, so it means it's 15 points to 28 here now in favour of the visitors, so they're starting to stretch a little bit. And we did say that score was going to be pretty important in the context of this game, and it was an error, and that's the sort of thing which can drop heads.
That's right, and it came from a pretty poor scrum for Melrose, and if that's the first time I've had to say that today. Heriots just got the shunt on that, caused the pressure to come on to Crawford, and it all unravelled from there. But here they come again, Melrose down that far side. Sharp, who's just chucking himself into contact, is able just to take play up towards that 22, linking up there now with Runciman, who carries forward for Melrose. The momentum in this passage of play is getting on pretty well as Shafarjak now carries forward. Melrose looking to try and go through the phases, looking to try and keep momentum up. Centre field now, Crawford looking to keep tempo, but the ball's been picked there. It was Shand who was able to stoop down for Heriots to turn the ball over, and Wallace then breaks free up towards his own 10 metre line, pirouettes out of contact, and Broad now he sniffs an opportunity. Jones, there's an overlap here. Leishman is looking to try and manipulate it now. He's trying to just orchestrate the players into position that's going to release Sakapaji up the wing, but he's been dealt with well by the Melrose defence as Linus carries a little bit further forward over that 10 metre line inside the Melrose half. Jones now links up well with McLaren. Kitsuna looks to try and distribute the ball. Rolly Brett got his mitt in the road, and you do wonder McLaren is just having a little chat with the match official, and it does look like in the space of a few minutes a couple of blows towards Melrose, because Rolly Brett is going to have to take a little 10-minute breather. Yes, and yeah, it's a yellow card to be fair. Dale, he palmed at the ball, stuck out a mitt, flapped at it, and forward it went, and it ended the Heriots momentum that was building. So he's going to have 10 minutes in the cooler. Now it looked on the far side like Robin Sharp had taken a sore one as well. It looks like he's going to try and run it off, but an injury to him was almost inevitable this afternoon, and I mean that in the best possible way, because that's been his level of commitment. He has absolutely flung himself into everything, the slight figure.
Making his way over the halfway line now with a slight limp in his walk, a little burst of pace, and then down to a strained walk as he looks towards the sky. I think certainly trying to run this one off. A conversation with David Changling as well, perhaps looking to give him some advice in his experienced years, the assistant referee on the banking side here at the Greenyards. It's plays going to continue with a penalty centre field to Heriot's. Ross Jones, who's certainly got a lump of a boot, opts to go quickly. And Katsuna then linking up with Glendinning, looking to try and catch Heriot's cold and almost do. Good defence there, getting across from Angus Weir, one of the replacements off the bench for Melrose. Shand, early replacement for Heriot's in the first half for an injured Jason Hill. Carries it forward, St John Broad then finds Chris Keane, links back up with Broad. Good hands there from the scrum half. He's able to find his captain Leishman, who's now burrowing his way forward. Now 7 metres shy of the Melrose line. Jones just holds his run, holds it up there as well for Linus to charge forward. A player who's in a bagload of tries, but mostly from driving behind, a driving maul. Carry forward again for Heriot's. They're making really good inroads here, a metre or so away from that Melrose line, working hard round the corner, picking and going, trying to find that little pocket of space and dislodge that defence. The link up there, Shand now has a go, but a couple of Melrose players are able to just wrap their limbs around the Heriot's attacker as they get over the line. Eventually they have to burrow deep down to find that pocket of space. Melrose just not able to get low enough, and they get over for a try, and the slaps on the back. Going to, well, it looks like Dan King is the player getting the pats on the back, certainly. But it does look like it's perhaps, it does look like Ewan McLaren is certainly getting some pats as well. Whoever scored the try probably matters little, because what it means is that Heriot's have extended their lead. Melrose 15, Heriot's 33, and it was a well-worked try from the penalty centre field that just probably showed the difference in calmness and experience between the two sides.
Yeah, I think so, Dale. It almost looked like they were going to shape for a kick, but they kind of caught everybody unawares, and a few phases later the try has been scored. But yeah, it was smart rugby at the end of the day, but it was power play as well. They're starting to go through the gears now, Heriot's, and this is against 14 men, of course.
This could be a pivotal time in this game. Melrose down to 14 players. Jones with a conversion attempt. Just inside the Melrose 22, 7 metres from the banking side here at the Greenyards, adjacent to the main stand. Right-footed kick again. And he watches that one again. It was inevitable, wasn't it? It was going to go in between the uprights, and it's a successful conversion again for Ross Jones. Impeccable from the boot, and it means after 57 minutes here at the Greenyards, we've got a quarter of the game left, and Melrose have got an uphill battle to get anything from this game. It's Melrose 15, Heriot's 35.
Robbie Chalmers has scored a try for Accies to give them the bonus point now. 28 points to 10 they lead against Wight. There's been more action at Poynder Park. David Ferguson.
Yes, there has. Just non-stop here at Poynder Park. Stuart trying to catch up, but we've had tries from both sides again. We had another try from Kelso. We talked about Dwayne Patterson's scoring earlier, but it was Adam Hall that went over this time. Again, good movement. It was Bruce McNeil that went through, made the initial charge. He found Keith Melbourne. Keith Melbourne found Adam Hall's on his side when he was only about 10-15 metres from the post. And Adam Hall, new signing from Southern Knights in the summer, the centre, he just danced his way past the last cover and managed to go over. The conversion from Dwayne Patterson put Kelso 29 points to 17 ahead with 16 minutes into the second half, and you thought then, are Kelso going to be able to go on and create a bit of a gap? But no, they couldn't, because Watsonians are not easily subdued out here. If you give Watsonians opportunities, they will take them, and unfortunately there was a missed tackle in midfield from youngster Cammy Thompson. He's had a cracking game today, playing in the back row, open side flanker, a youngster coming through really still, and it was unfortunate he missed the tackle, and Watsonians were away. Ronan Kerr really should have found a man. He had a man on his right, a man on his left. He didn't take either, ran into the tackle. You thought Kelso might have survived, but Watsonians kept the ball, they recycled it well. and it came to their big lock Louis ball. There was no way of stopping him from about 3 metres out. He went over, dived down, a good try, and Jason Baggett converted. So that's brought the game back to 29-24. We've got 17 minutes left here at Poynder Park. The teams have both taken a little bit of a rest, and it's perhaps an indication. It's a bright sunshine out here at Poynder Park, a glorious day to watch rugby, but a number of players have been going down, Stuart, and getting a bit of treatment. Look, they're getting cramp, going down with cramp. You can see their legs in the air. Players, teammates helping them stretch the legs a bit. We've had a couple of injuries, boys off as well. Andy Tate went off actually in the first half, the scrum half, for Kelso with an injury, and Grant Shields, their big prop, Loosehead, has gone off with an injury in the second half. And I should say, I didn't mention early on, but this game is being played for the Clive Miller Memorial Trophy, which we'll maybe talk a little bit about at the end, a player who played with great distinction for both Kelso and Watsonians, but passed away earlier this year. So we've got 16 minutes left here at Poynder Park, and Kelso lead as we speak, 29 points to 24, but don't bet that it's over yet.
I'm sure it isn't. David Ferguson keeping us up to date at Poynder Park. Ayr and Currie have just kicked off at Millbrae, that game live on BBC Alba at the moment, but we don't want you to go there. You want to stay here because we can give you all the latest scorelines. Edinburgh Accies 28, Hawick 10, Glasgow Hawks 26, Musselburgh 8. This is all in the Premiership. Kelso 29, Watsonians 24, Marr 33, Selkirk have got a try back. They're now on 10. Ben Pickles on his return to rugby. Good to see him back on the pitch again. 33-10 though at Fullerton Park to Marr, and Melrose 15, Heriots 35 down at the Greenyards. We'll be back there very shortly. National 1, it's currently bigger, 19, Jed Forest 28, Gala 21, Highland 12, Stirling County 27, Peebles 6, and in the National League Cup first round so far, Falkirk 15, Kirkcaldy 8, Greenock Wanderers 5, GHK 80, Hamilton 5, Allen Glens 33, North Berwick 5, Lasswade 41, Preston Lodge 26, Berwick 28 is the latest score from Pennypit, and West of Scotland currently lead Cartha Queen's Park by 36 points to 0. Let's return to the Greenyards. It's Melrose against Heriots.
A few replacements come off the bench for Heriots and flex their muscles at the scrum. One of them, Struan Cessford, as well. You can see there just showing his impact in that forward battle. Melrose deep inside their own 22 now, clear the lines through Kieran Clark, who kicks it downfield, and they've dealt well, Melrose, with perhaps the last 4 or 5 minutes with being down to 14 men. You know, Heriots have not really been able to really manipulate them too much, but yeah, it's definitely been a difficult period in time for Melrose over the last game, well, the second half certainly.
Yeah, it has, Dale. They've been so dogged throughout this, but I think we've kind of always known that there was a possibility that they might run out of steam against this bigger, more experienced Heriots outfit with a stronger bench to come. But like I say, they're still in the fight, but only just at this stage. Next try is everything.
The Townsends now face each other in the fly half position, and Christian just left a little bit a late one there on Luke as he lumped it downfield for Melrose. Christian a replacement for Ross Jones in the fly half jersey for Heriots. Heriots make their way down towards Melrose territory again on the 10 metre line. St John Broad then looks for options outside of him, working hard there. Off the ball was a few players, and one of them in particular, Callum Shand, who I think has been a standout player for Heriots.
Agreed.
Came off the bench as well in the first half for an injured Jason Hill. Ball tipped on there. Struan Cessford wearing number 17 by the looks of it. He acts as an auxiliary scrum half. Christian Townsend then finds Kitsuna King out the back, and then Glendinning, who's on a hat-trick, he links up with Linus, and he's going to look to try and bulldoze his way over the line, and he's been dealt with well there by the slightly lightweight Melrose defenders. Shand gets the ball across the face and gives it to Chris Keane, who straightens up his line, draws in the Melrose defenders. Townsend again recycling the ball, keeping it alive, and then into the wider channels, and Sam Wallace is going to go in for a try for Heriots. Well worked, it's went from side to side there. Linus on the left hand side setting up the platform, keeping the tempo high, and Sam Wallace, the back row forward, goes in for a try for Heriots, and they further extend their lead here, and now they're on 40 points, Melrose on 15.
And that's a deserved try. Dale, been thoroughly impressed by Wallace. We all know he's a good player, but I've been really impressed by him this afternoon. It's been his kind of game. But yeah, Heriots just going through the gears now as another.
No, I think the referee, is he coming back for a scrum?
Oh, I think you could be right, actually, yeah.
I think he's coming back for a scrum there by the looks of it. It must have been a forward pass. Josh Scott is going to come on and replace Chris Keane for this scrum. But yeah, certainly it looks like there's been a little error there when they've executed that passage of play. Certainly from here, didn't look like anything was forward.
No, it looked okay from here, but it must have been, because they're going to have a scrum, and that would have been the killer for Melrose. So let's see if they can claw their way down the field and get the next try, because let's face it, they need it.
Scrum there. As I'm having to score off my try scorer on my team my score sheet here. Still remains Melrose 15, Heriot's 35 after that try is chalked off for the visitors. So there's a scrum in a shadowy patch of the Melrose ground in the policeman's corner. Crawford waits until the scrum is set, rolls it in. There's parity in that set piece, and then the nudge comes on from Heriot's, putting a bit of pressure on, and Lindsay is having to work hard from the base of that scrum to carry forward. Sam Wallace, who did get the try but it was chalked off, deals well with the breakaway forward from the back of that scrum. There is going to be a penalty for Melrose, so they'll get the opportunity to clear their lines a little bit easier than perhaps they were having to work there, and they'll welcome that. And ball's now in Luke Townsend's hand, and he'll have to kick downfield. But Melrose really have not been able to get territory in the second half at all, Robin.
No, they've not. Heriots have shown their class, and Melrose have just wilted a wee bit. Again, it's, we've said it enough times during this game. There's a strength deficit, if you like, between the two squads on paper at least, but it is starting to show out there on the field of play now as well, I would say.
Throw in to the line out. It's going to be a throw in to Melrose in between their own 10 metre and halfway. It's ball hoisted above the head. It's well gathered there by Tam Brown. Townsend distributes to Ferry. He's been asked to go it alone. He's been well supported there by Angus Weir, who's there quickly. Crawford then gives it to Rory Lindsay. Carries well, tenacious with ball in hand. Thompson acts as first receiver, and he's clattered by a link up in defence there from the Heriots defenders. He also has a relatively impressive game. He's perhaps been quiet at times, but the ball's not really got out to the wider channels that many times, but certainly looks physical. Runciman, I'm talking of physical, he's able to almost ball over the first effort. Josh Scott is able to stoop down and put a bit of pressure on that ball, but the referee is coming back for the offside. It's offside from Heriot. Centre field, Crawford scampers to the position that the referee has marked. Looks to try and take it quickly, but thinks twice and gives it to Luke Townsend. A penalty in conversion against his name this afternoon. He launches it downfield towards the 22 metre line. And has he been able to get inside that territory? Just shy of it. The assistant referee, Brian Johnson, calls the mark just a metre short of the 22 metre line. So Logan Kirk will be throwing in to this line out as the Melrose players look to try and maybe take the sting out of this passage of play, slowly making their way towards this line out and to line up just on the halfway line. Kirk on the Heriots 22, ball above his head, bit of movement. He then throws into Runciman. The ball is brought down, the players all congregate on the 22 to try and drive this driving maul forward. They had good joy in the first half, made some good inroads, and a bit of encouragement as well at the base from Douglas Crawford, just barking his forwards a little bit further forward as Rolly Brett returns to the field of play. He has to pirouette out of danger from Christian Townsend. Then passed along the face there to Ferry. Melrose camped deep inside Heriot's territory now. Luke Townsend looks to distribute, puts boot to ball. He's going to give something for his players to try and chase. Sakapaji is there, who deals with the danger and carries it forward, and there's going to be a 22 metre drop out to Heriot's, and they live to fight another day here, because it's approaching the final 10 minutes here at the Greenyards. It certainly looks like it's going to be a Heriot's victory, but it's Melrose 15, Heriot's 35.
What about Poynder Park? Surely not more tries, David Ferguson?
Oh, of course, Stuart. What did can't remember what the score was the last time we spoke. 29-22 then maybe. It is now Kelso 36, Watsonians 31. This game is just swinging one way and then the other. Every time the Kelso support get a sense that they're ahead and they've got this game in the bag, Watsonians come back at them. We've just watched a big kick. There's a lot of mistakes going on. Coaches round about us. We've got the Watsonians coaches close to us. We've got Nicky Walker, Kelso coach, just not far away on the other side. And the number of times they're holding their heads in their hands for mistakes because their players are dropping balls, they're putting silly kicks out. But I have to say, it makes for a fantastic match to watch for the neutral here, or either sets of fans, because there's a lot of excitement on the field. You only go 1 or 2 minutes and something else is happening. And we had a great try from Archie Barber. It was for Kelso on the far right touchline. He's in the right winger. He's got some pace to burn, that's for sure. 66 minutes it was, and it was actually Watsonians in control. They had the ball, they were going through the phases, and suddenly it just dropped. Somebody left it behind, they went forward. Archie was very alert, the winger, Kelso right winger Archie Barber, quickly snapped up the ball and took off down the right hand touchline and discovered there wasn't much support there. Watsonians had been up in attack, nobody covering, and it was sped from 15 metres away right to the post. Great try, brought the Poynder Park stand up on its feet once again. 36-24 that became, with Dwayne Patterson converting. Then you're thinking then, okay, 12 points, can Kelso then start to build a lead? But no, Watsonians came back virtually from the restart again. A couple of mistakes. It was actually a couple of line-outs they had. They lost both of them. Keith Melbourne won both of them. The big second row, red-haired Irishman in the Kelso second row. But the second time he won it, he knocked it back. It went loose. Watsonians picked up on it, and they then built a few phases from which eventually Ali Davidson went over for the try when Kelso just were stretched too far. That was on the 70th minute, so 10 minutes to go there. We're now in the 75th minute, just 5 minutes to go here. Kelso on the attack at Poynder Park. In fact, there's a penalty being given against them there. This Poynder Park crowd, again, the stand is pretty well full. Lovely sunny day, but this game is going seesaw. It's been a real seesaw start to finish, and we've got now just under 5 minutes to go of this game at Poynder Park, and who's going to win it is anybody's guess, Stuart. But at the moment, 5 minutes to go, it is Kelso 36, Watsonians 31.
I'm sure we'll be back, and there'll be more tries to talk about in the last 5 minutes. Excitement at Poynder Park. What about the Premiership? Well, it's Ayr 12, Currie 3, 2 early tries for Ayr in that game. That game kicked off at 4:10, so 15 minutes gone in that. Edinburgh, Accies 28, Hawick 15, a Jay Linton try, got one back for Hawick. Glasgow Hawks 31, Musselburgh 8. Kelso, as we've just heard, is 36-31 to Kelso against Watsonians. Marr 40, Selkirk 10, and down at the Greenyards, Melrose 15, Heriot'S 35. International 1, bigger fight back here, bigger 29, Jed Forest 28, with just 5 minutes to go in that one. Gala 31, Highland 12, a great start at Netherdale for Gala, getting the revenge on Highland from last year's shenanigans. Stirling County 34, Peebles 6 is the latest score in National 1 as well. Into the Cup, Falkirk 15, Kirkcaldy 8 is the latest score. Greenock Wanderers 5, GHK 85, Hamilton 5, Allen Glens 33, Newton Stewart 9, Dumfries 23, that's a big surprise. North Berwick 5, Lasswade 41 is the latest score we have. Preston Lodge 26, Berwick, who were down 19-0, remember, are now on 36. 10-point lead for Berwick at Penny Pit, and West of Scotland 38, Cartha Queen's Park 5. That is the latest. That brings you right up to date. Let's return to the Greenyards and Robin Purdie and Dale Clancy.
Entering the closing stages here at the Greenyards, we've got I'd say about 9 minutes to go in this game, and Heriot's have started to really show their class and their experience from their endeavours in Super Series rugby. Some of their key linchpins certainly rubbing off on those players that have entered the squad in this new look Heriot's side. But we're going to start play back over again with a line out inside Heriot's territory, and it was overshot there, but then juggled at the back by Callum Shand. He's had a couple of those this afternoon, and he's juggled a couple of balls, he's caught a couple of them. He made a good break in the start of the second half, but there's been a couple of occasions where he's just snatched at the ball and just not able to gather it this time. So it's going to be a scrum for Melrose, and a good chance here to You do think that if they can get a couple of quick-fire tries, that there's a bit of life left in this game. But
oh yeah, I don't know if they can get a couple of quick-fire tries, then there's a bonus point. Plus, a lot closer to getting another bonus point as well.
Still a lot in this game for either side. It's every weekend in the Premiership is going to be tough for every single side. We're talking about, the kind of the landscape of the Premiership and National 1, but it's just great to see. It's great to hear the competition down at Poynder Park, a seesaw battle between a side that was Super Series and a side that was in the Premiership that is certainly built off their success last year. So it seems like an entertaining encounter to open the season at Poynder Park, as Kelso will hope to try and get over the line. But here Melrose are certainly looking to try and get something of their own. Breaking free from that scrum is Rory Lindsay. Outstretched arms there from Crawford, gesturing to the referee that he thinks that Heriots were not releasing the ball on the ground, or the player on the ground, trying to get the penalty. The momentum now starting to build for this Melrose side. Crawford gives it to Townsend. Townsend has found Kieran Clark. He's looking just to step his way into some free space. It's been closed slightly there by the Heriot side as the defenders get back into position. Good momentum built here from Melrose, who are about a metre shy of that Heriot's line now. Slow and play right down and look to try and dive and burrow their way towards that try line. Crawford, he's got Shafarjak waiting in the wings to try and burst over, but just not able to. Then sniping is the wiry Douglas Crawford, and we said we need a couple of quick fire tries. Well, there's one of them.
It certainly is. Doug Crawford's been impressive. He's a real good battle this afternoon with St John Broad. Couple of nippy scrum halves, both with a great pass, and that's a deserved try for the Melrose number 9. And yeah, Dale, we spoke about it 3 minutes ago. Now we're into bonus point territory for Melrose if they can get another, and then they'll be thinking about kicking on for a second as well. Really gutsy stuff by Melrose. It really has been this afternoon. All credit to them.
Yeah, it's been an impressive effort from this Melrose side. I think even within their own camp, I think they realised the task that was facing them in the opening game of the season against a very successful side from the Super Series, who'd been able to retain the majority of their squad, you would argue. And the successful conversion means it's 22 points to 35. And on a side note, it was great to see Melrose have made their way back over the halfway line, and Angus Runciman just kicked the ball off of the halfway line to slow play down somewhat. So, obviously trying to allow his teammates a bit of time to get back, but there's going to be some replacements, because I can see that Andrew Kirk is the player just to kick it back towards Heriots.
Yeah, and I can see Willow and Anzen Zvarzik coming off the two Melrose props. What an effort by those guys this afternoon. They've done 76 minutes of a shift.
Very impressive as it's kicked downfield. Melrose this time not opting to call the mark, and then look to try and kick themselves out of danger. It's probably not got the distance that they wanted this time. So it's a successful reset there from Heriots after conceding a try. They'll be happy perhaps to escape from the Greenyards. It's never easy to come to the Greenyards. I think few teams have left here feeling that Melrose have rolled over and had their bellies tickled, and certainly on this occasion Melrose have really fronted up and stepped up a level.
I think there'll be other teams look at this result today, Dale, and think, oh, hang on a second, look at that Melrose team on paper, as we've said before, on paper. I think this will make some teams sit up and take notice of Melrose, actually.
Credit to the coaching staff as well, but Melrose have rarely been a team that are happy just to make up the numbers. They're certainly wanting to be competitive and get that blueprint for being the dominant force back in Scottish club rugby. And from that driving maul, Kitsuna has been given a platform to go forward. He links back up with Christian Townsend. St John Broad has to dig about to get that ball back. Leishman, who's been relatively composed but yet quiet, carries forward. Broad picks a little bit of space and makes a few yards for his side. Heriot, centre field inside Melrose territory now. Leishman acts as the scrum half, distributes to a teammate to carry forward and make those hard-earned yards. Working hard round the corner yet again, picking and going and trying to steal a march on the defenders as the Melrose side try and peel round. Broad finds Townsend out the back to King. King's been wrapped up well, but there by Chris Thompson, but it's been offloaded to Wallace, who's been loitering on the wider channels. Glendinning, who's on a hat-trick, thinks he can power his way over from 10 metres out. He's not able to this time, but Wallace thinks he can. He's over the try line, but he's been held up by that Melrose side, so it's going to be a goal line drop. It's actually going to come back for the offside. Heriot's had the advantage. Kitsuna screaming on the ball, but again, just showing the character from both sides. Heriot's want to play a bit of rugby, but Melrose defending brilliantly yet again.
Oh, desperate stuff by Melrose, and they have conceded a penalty now. You know, I don't think I've missed that many, and I make that 3 penalty concessions so far by Melrose. Now, as the season wears on, you know, any team that concedes under 10 is potentially going to win more rugby matches than they're going to lose. And yeah, it's just been disciplined. It's been gutsy. They've had a crack. They've just put their all in this afternoon. And Heriots have had stuff to think about, but Heriots have just had that wee bit of they've had that wee bit of an edge. They look like they can go through the gears. But we've been treated to a feast this afternoon.
Yeah, it's been a brilliant game. I've thoroughly enjoyed this opening weekend in the Premiership. It's been competitive. The first half was really competitive between these two sides. It was certainly a back and forth battle between both of these sides as they tried to get a foothold in the game. 15-21 at half time in Heriot's favour, and the scrum now has been picked at the base by Kirkpatrick. He carries forward, he's almost got himself isolated. The referee signals that the ball has been stolen, so Crawford is looking to spill the ball wide to give an opportunity for Melrose to counter. Launched back towards an area where a Melrose player would be loitering. That player is Douglas Crawford. He's been scragged and he's been ragdolled by the Heriot's defence on the Melrose 5 metre line. Rolly Brett has to act as scrum half, and Melrose will be doing well here to get a safe escape downfield. Townsend's heels are almost on the dead ball line as he's going to offer himself up for a kick downfield, but Crawford looks to go for the box kick, and it's going to be a throw in to the line out. It's been flapped by a Heriot's hand, so Melrose will be able to throw into their own line out. I would reckon we've got 2 minutes left here in this Arnold Clark men's Premiership battle between Melrose and Heriot's. It's currently Melrose 22, Heriot's 35, as we are about to reach the conclusion of this game. And following this game, stick with us because we'll give you a run through of all the results from around the country, as well as reaction from various camps across Scotland in an interesting and captivating opening weekend in the men's Premiership and National League action. Crawford gets the ball to Brett as Melrose win their own line out. Now Gabe, who's a try scorer in the first half, he thought he was giving Melrose the lead into half time if it wasn't for a try from Sakapaji just on the stroke of half time. Brett linking up with one of the replacements there, Angus Weir. Lumped downfield from Melrose into Heriot's territory. It's a good gain. There's going to be a throw into the line out for Heriot's, and they can probably go from deep, but you would say that Melrose will still be eyeing up that final try to get that bonus point.
Oh, definitely. They've got a minute or so to go, and now they've got a bit of territory, albeit like you say, it's going to be a Heriot's line out just inside their own 10 metre line, but I would imagine Melrose will look to throw somebody up here, run someone potentially as St John Broad comes to the sideline. I said it early doors and been keeping an eye on it ever since. His service, his passing is an absolute work of art. He's one to keep an eye on this season. Been one of the decent performers for the Golden Acre men this afternoon, among others.
Yeah, came through. I believe he was at Marr before, and then obviously excelled in Super Series as well. As the ball is launched midfield and it's just hacked on by Glendinning, the bounce of the ball not able to fall kindly to the outside centre. And certainly a bit unorthodox from the visitors, but it's ended up in the hands of Melrose. Replacement scrum half Cameron Robertson is able to distribute the ball. Townsend breaks the defensive line. It's been offloaded. Now Melrose think they've got an opportunity here. Linking up there, Cameron Kirk carries forward. Melrose inside Heriot's territory now. And Douglas Crawford gets the ball away to one of the other Kirks. It's Logan Kirk this time. Crawford again. He's got Brett in support, who acts as a bit of a playmaker, a bit of a connector with the outside backs, but goes it alone. I think Heriot's have probably stolen this on the floor. Opportunity knocked for Melrose, but it is bypassed them this time because Heriot's have got the ball in their hands. They've got the penalty advantage coming as well. The referee hoists his arm in the air and he's going to signal the penalty, and it'll be interesting to see what Heriot's do here. Game is in the bag for the Nails, but are they going to just tap it quickly and kick the ball off the field of play?
I would imagine so.
The referee's watch might be slightly different to what we've got in front of us. Going to try and have to find that budget the BBC Alba have. Christian Townsend from the penalty, kicks downfield. He's able to get the ball off of the field of play, so there's still time left here. Heriot still want to play a bit of rugby, as DG Ennis has gone in for a score for Currie against Ayr at Millbrae to narrow the margins. 12 points to 8 now, with almost half an hour gone in that game. We are reaching the conclusion of all of our games across the country. 3 p.m. kickoffs. The live game on BBC Alba was a 4:10 kickoff, as the ball is launched towards the tail of that line out. It's not accurate from Heriot, it's fallen back on the Melrose side. William Ferry has got the ball on the halfway line, carries forward. Townsend launches the ball to Brett, quickly through his hands. The break's put on by Clark, he goes one way, then another. He's been grasped by Thomas Glendinning, and he's been stopped as Kirk, a more sizeable Logan Kirk now, is able to clatter into contact. Townsend puts the brakes on. He goes back inside. He's able to find a pocket of space and make a couple of yards. Crawford thinks he can do the same, but he's been wrapped up and held up there by Kirkpatrick. The referee will come back for a penalty, and you can see the desperation in this Melrose attack, looking at just trying to get any opportunity.
Absolutely, they really are throwing everything into this quest for a bonus point. It would be richly deserved given their endeavours. Shout out to the Melrose bench as well. We've spoken, about how on paper, they were undermanned for a start, and it looked a bit of a wee bit of a disparity in terms of the quality compared to the two benches. But they have absolutely flung themselves in everything. They've given everything for the jersey, and it's been a brilliant squad effort by Melrose today.
Completely emptied now, because I can see Jack Henderson is on as well for Melrose. So it's a full complement of players off the bench for this Melrose side.
Yeah, some young lads, some inexperienced lads in there this afternoon.
We've seen a whole clutch of young players come through. I think Melrose will be going back to that blueprint of really getting these young players in a really competitive environment. It really does bring them on as Melrose win the line out, and Crawford gives it to Brett. Brett tips it on to Thompson. Thompson knocks on. It's been scooped up there by Muir, who thinks he can see some space. Glendinning hacks it downfield. He's looking to try and make this a foot race. There's 3 Heriot's players herring through. King, Townsend and Glendinning are all chasing down Luke Townsend, who just dives on the ball. He's got a little bit of company there as well, as he's been clattered as he tried to suffocate that ball. Melrose, who were in the Heriot's 22 looking to try and get closer towards getting that bonus point, are now looking to try and escape their own area. Melrose will be doing well to not yield to some Heriot's defensive pressure. Brett lines up, straightens up his run, looks to try and get the offload in. Chris Thompson just overruns it, then has to retreat back to offer some support. Crawford goes one way, then pirouettes out of another. He's been then clattered as he angles himself towards the ground. This Heriot's defence looking to put a bit of pressure on. Josh Scott trying to get the ball back, has just been nudged off, but another penalty is going to come the way of Melrose. And thank God this is a game in August and not November, because the darkness is fast approaching. We're deep into added time now. Here at the Greenyards, we're playing an additional 6 minutes. It's still Melrose 22, Heriot's 35, but a reminder that Melrose are looking for a bonus point here. They're trying to get closer towards that bonus point territory, and hopefully 2 as well. So there's still a lot to play for here for both sides.
Oh, definitely. This line out, Melrose, they're going to have to do it the hard way. It's inside their own half, but they're like everything else this afternoon, Dale. They'll give it a crack, they'll give it their all.
Runciman gets the ball from the top and drops it down to Crawford, who then gives it to Townsend. Linking up midfield. There's an acute line there from Jack Henderson, who almost got through, but Heriots do get the ball. They have the ball in their hand, and Shawn now running laterally across the pitch, trying to find that space. It's a lung-busting effort from this Melrose side. Heriots, and it's been intercepted there by Rolly Brett. He's just picked the pocket of Heriots and he's in, but the referee is bringing it back for offside. That would have been the bonus point try. It was going to be underneath the uprights as well. It's not for the first time in the game that Rolly Brett has found himself in that space, as the boos ring out here at the Greenyards, because that would have been the try to give them that bonus point. And it'll be interesting to see what Heriots do now.
Yeah, I think they'll tap it and boot it right into the stand. But I think, to be fair, Dale, that was right in line with me. And I almost called it. He looked a mile offside to me, in fairness. And I know I heard a number of Heriots fans, or at least coaches, shouting for offside. So I think it did look the right decision. Fair play to the referee and the ARs on that one.
I think the players are all wanting to get some well-earned minutes under their belt, because Christian Townsend has just lumped it off the field of play, but it's still play continuing here at the Greenyards. I think that they're in different battles though as well. They're certainly in completely different battles. So Heriots, I don't think will feel that if they keep playing rugby here, there's going to be much of a threat in the league campaign from this Melrose side as the line-out starts to form just on the 22-metre line. The next break in play, the knock-on, or if the ball goes dead, it will be the end of this game, and we'll quickly be able to run through. It's a squint line out from Heriots. So
the Melrose players celebrated like that like a try as well. They're not for throwing in the towel in this quest for a bonus point, even though they're 75 metres from the line. They want this, and they want it bad. Fair play.
Yeah, it has. It certainly shows that what Melrose are looking to get from this game. But they set their stall out from the start. Scott Wight said if they can stay in the race and try and put a bit of pressure on Heriots, there's something there to gain, and they're still, with almost 90 minutes on the clock, there's still something to play for this Melrose side. The squeeze comes on from Heriots. They're bulldozing their way over that scrum, but Melrose get the ball back. Rolly Brett looks to distribute. He throws the dummy. He then finds that pocket of space and crashes over from his own 22. Lindsay then breaks free. He offloads to Crawford over that 10-metre line now. The Heriots defence is having to get back quickly. Crawford back up. He's offloading there. It's a good link-up play there from Runciman and Ferry, and also Lindsay there as well. Playing now deep inside Heriots territory. They've been blasted off the line, but the referee stopping play just now. He's going to brandish a yellow card as well, and I think one of the replacements there, well, it's actually Kirkpatrick who's going to be given the yellow card. No, hanging about from Melrose as well. They're kicking downfield. They're trying to get the ball off the field of play. They want to get this a bonus point try. A reminder that a try would take it to 27 points to 35, just outside the losing bonus point, but the kick to come would give them a chance to get those additional 2 points that would take them into that chartered 7-point territory. They would have the 4 tries, and they would also have that losing bonus point, and that would be a positive start to the season for this Melrose side. Kirk now throws into the line out. It's been flapped back by Heriots, who are now looking just to kick the ball off. They kick it dead, and that is going to be the final play in this game. So it is Heriots who escape with a victory, and we've certainly ran on here at the Greenyards, but it finishes in the Arnold Clark Men's Premiership here between Melrose and Heriots. It's Melrose 22, Heriots 35.
Thank you to Robin Purdie and also to Dale Clancy down there at the Greenyards. Let's quickly go to Poynder Park, an exciting game there. Kelso and Watsonians. Here's David Ferguson.
It's no David Ferguson, it's me, because David Ferguson's away trying to get Bruce McNeil on the far side of the pitch. So do you want to round up some other scores and come back to us?
Yep, no problem. We shall do that. Live radio, it'll never catch on. Let's go, in fact, to Penny Pit instead, because Preston Lodge against Berwick was happening there. Let's bring in Sam Matthews.
Full time at the Penny Pit, and the score has turned round miraculously for the away side this afternoon. A game of 2 halves in every aspect. Full time is Preston Lodge 26, Berwick 36. A first half which was largely dominated by the home side. 4 tries, a missed penalty, and 1 missed conversion sent them in at the half time, 26 points to 7. But then the returning Thompsons made it all the difference for Berwick this afternoon. A second half with 4 tries and a penalty. Ewan Thompson getting 2, James Thompson, Ryan Wilson and Cammy Rogerson, the other players to score this afternoon. A special mention to the debut of Ben Simmons in the Berwick 10 jersey today. Had a tough first half, but he powered through and came back strong in the second half, only missing 1 conversion but slotting a pen to make up for it, completing the comeback. Berwick go on in the National League Cup, and Preston Lodge bow out on the first day of the season. A good outing for both teams to build up the fitness in the heat this afternoon, but it ends here down by the waterfront at Penny Pit. Preston Lodge 26, Berwick 36.
And after that report, I think we can bring in James Thompson talking to Sam.
Well, joined now by James Thompson. James, successful return to Berwick in your first competitive match.
Yeah, it didn't look like that in the first half. It's a hell of a downhill here at PL, and they used that pretty well, and we knew they were going to come up fast. We didn't really have any answers. Kind of weathered the storm a little bit towards the end of the second half with some good D sets, and then we knew when the half time came and we got the slope that it was probably 3-4 score slope, so we managed to build it back up and take the win at the end there with some pretty good game management. Also some bad game management bits and pieces as well. Discipline was on the rope sometimes, but yeah, managed to take the win, and we'll take massive confidence from that.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that yourself. How do you have a team talk like that and instill belief in the team when you've conceded 4 tries to 1 in the first half?
It's tough, and the boys are putting a lot of input in, but we might just need to quiet that down and have a few key figures. So captain as a Wurzel today, Ali's coming round under the post when we can, and just little bits like that. But yeah, it's just boys care so much, and it's tough when you concede 4 tries like that to bounce back. But second half we knew we'd have the slope, and we managed to build a few phases and get on the attack, and really happy with it.
And lastly, a word on Ben Simmons' debut today in the Berwick jersey. Tough first half for him, not a lot went his way, but a lesson in perseverance there for those that watched this afternoon.
No, try to work on a bit of box kicking to take a bit of pressure off the young man. But hey, his kicking off the tee is spectacular. Like, he's got to take a bit of pressure off John Webster when he comes back. And he managed the game well at 10 for a young man. And we've got me and Rod in the centres to kind of help him out with that. But he took control and steered us around the pitch. Him and Angus Utterson in the second half as well. So I'm really pleased for him.
Congratulations, James, on the win today. Well done.
Thank you very much.
OK, let's go back to Poynder Park, and hopefully David Ferguson is there now.
Yes, indeed. We're joined by Bruce McNeill, co-head coach of Kelso, looking very tired. You've put in quite a shift there, Bruce. I mean, that was phenomenal to finish there. It was 10-7 at half time. It was close then. The game was always close. You never really got away from Watsonians, and they kept coming back. But you finished on the right end of the score. Scoreboard reads Kelso 37, Watsonians 31. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, the result's pleasing in terms of we won, but as you say, it was kind of nip and tuck there for a while. We feel that we probably should have controlled areas slightly better when we got ahead, maybe just play a bit more on their half sort of thing, and a bit more composed. So yeah, listen, result outstanding, but we'll keep our feet in the ground knowing that there's loads to work on. But the pleasing thing is there's a serious amount of want there, playing for the jersey, playing for each other. So we've not lost that, which is very pleasing, but we just need to put a bit of meat in the bones in terms of structure and controlling things.
And you talk about performance, and you will go away looking to see how you can improve that performance, but it was nip and tuck. It went backwards and forwards, but on a day, the first day of the new season, we don't quite know what these Super 6 teams are going to bring in and how strong they're going to be in front of your own support on a sunny day at Poynder Park. The result was everything, really, wasn't it, today?
Absolutely. Result's always everything, especially this stage of the season. To get off to a good start at home in front of a big crowd and a nice day was phenomenal. So it's always easier to work on things when you get that result. Guys come in on Tuesday night buoyant, knowing that we've got 5 points in the bag, but as Nicky and the lads were saying there, we enjoy tonight and then we go back to graft. Looking at the game tomorrow and Tuesday nights, it's another week, and we look forward to it, and we're enjoying things. We're always learning. Nicky and the background staff's always challenging us in training, and to be fair, the boys are buying into it, and there is glimpses of it there, and let's just hope we can build on this win and make sure that we're as resilient away from home next week.
Yeah, and that's what you'll be looking for. We'll bring in Dwayne Patterson. Dwayne's here as well, and Dwayne scored 2 tries today. Dwayne, you're playing in the wing today. A little bit of a move there, but it was the right place at the right time there. You managed to score 2 very important tries in that second half.
It seemed to be just the right place at the right time. Like I say, it was a couple breaks from the boys inside, and I just had to add the easy job of running it in. But I think that's just what we've been working on as a unit, and no individual stuff, and it pays off. The boys in the middle, a big shout out to the forwards today. On this, let's be honest, it's a hot day. It's a hot day down at Poynder. You don't get many of them, but they put a massive shift in today. All credit to them.
You're one of the younger players. I mean, you probably aren't seen as that anymore, Dwayne. You've got boys coming in, Jack Utterson at 17, 18, but you're still one of the younger players there. And this team has really been founded on good Kelso boys coming through. It must feel fantastic to be playing for Kelso at the moment.
It is, and I think that's the key. We spoke about it through the week of just Kelso it's been based, maybe not everyone's directly from Kelso, they might have families with Kelso, but it's a real buy-in to play for the shirt and play for the badge, and as you can see, that's what it means out there at full-time whistle. Boys were really chuffed with that result, and it's just all about playing for the town, I think.
Brilliant, you couldn't say it any better, Dwayne. Thanks very much, Bruce McNeil. We were going to try and hear from Watsonians, but we're running out of time in the show tonight, I'm afraid, but it's been a fantastic win here at Poynder Park for Kelso. Final score at Poynder Park was Kelso 36, Watsonians 31.
Well, my goodness, David Ferguson covering it all today. Thank you very much indeed. We've got Dwayne Patterson, we've got Bruce McNeil, and also the final score. Loads of tries down there at Poynder Park, and it ended, as he said, 36-31 in favour of Kelso. Ayr and Currie playing at the moment. That was a 4:10 kickoff, and that's currently Ayr 12, Currie 10 at this moment in time. Edinburgh Accies 28, Hawick 22 is a final score. Glasgow Hawks 36, Musselburgh 15 is a final result at Balgray. Kelso 36, Watsonians 31, Marr 40, Selkirk 10, and Melrose 22, Heriot'S 35. Those are the results in the Premiership. In National League 1, Biggar 32, Jed Forest 28, but 2 bonus points for Jed. Still waiting on Muir and GHA and Glasgow Accies versus Dundee, but Gala have won. Gala 31, Highland 19. Stirling County 46, Peebles 6 at Bridge Haw. On to the National League Cup, and that was a draw in fact. Falkirk 39, Kirkcaldy 39, Greenock Wanderers 12, GHK 90, Hamilton 12, Allen Glens 38, Newton Stewart 9, Dumfries 23, North Berwick 17, Lasswade 74, Preston Lodge 26, Berwick 36, and West of Scotland 52, Cartha Queen's Park 15. All the others are late kickoffs. All the results will be available, of course, at rugbyradio.co.uk as soon as they've confirmed, including the National League Cup first round pool games. Next week, our commentary game will be Hawick against Marr. That's at Mansfield Park. We'll also be covering Selkirk versus Glasgow Hawks, Watsonians v Ayr, and others as well. And of course, the other divisions of the National League will be starting next Saturday. That just about wraps things up for today in a very packed programme. My thanks to our team. And we shall name names: David Ferguson, Dale Clancy, Robin Purdie, Ewan Welsh, Kelly Riddle, Sam Matthews, Hugh Brown, Rory Anderson and Colin Black. We'll be back next Saturday at 2:30, keeping you totally up to date with latest scores right across Scotland. But until then, from me, Stuart Cameron, bye for now.